Greetings, brothers and sisters. It's your brother Sunny Esperance, or as some of you may know me as the podcast man, back again with another episode of the Thrive podcast. Where today we got our sister who will be sharing her testimony of how God brought her out of the world and into His church. As always, those of you watching and listening, this podcast affiliates itself with one church and one church only, that is First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, where the leader, teacher, and guide is Apostle Pastor Gino Jennings. If you're looking for a first church to be baptized right in the name of Jesus Christ, you can go to truthofgod.com, click locations, see what location is closest to you, and set that baptism up by contacting the local secretary of that location, or you can fill out a baptismal request form on the truthofgod.com, or what you can do is follow the calendar of events. Yes, that's right. The Truth of God have a calendar of events for baptism. You can see if they're going to be in your town, city, village, wherever that weekend. And of course, bring your own clothes. Bring your own clothes, bring your own towels. You can never go wrong if you do. Secondly, if you're looking for a truth of God to attend, First Church to attend, brothers and sisters, same thing. Go to truthofgod.com, click locations, and see what location is closest to you, so you can, make way to go and fellowship with the saints. As always, brothers and sisters, continue to keep me and my family in prayer as I do the same for you. Youth conference coming up April 17th to the 20th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. April 17th to the 20th. You never want to miss convocations, brothers and sisters. Every time I've gone, I've always been fed. I've always been nourished. It's like a big boost for myself when I go, and it's truly a blessing to have it because I'm able to meet my extended family from all over. Africa, Caribbean, and then the America, and Asia, and all the us, and so forth. If you get what I'm saying, so I'm truly grateful and thankful to be able to go. Now, those of you that wonder why I always do these announcements is, so we do put the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all these type of things. So some of the stuff that I have, it's literally it's listeners only. So it's for them to get these announcements as well. If y'all know what's about to come, you want to skip the video, go about your business and skip the right to the testimony and so forth. But this is why I do it consistently. For those that don't know, podcast is actually just for listeners. Me coming on YouTube, it was just a challenge myself, and by God's grace and mercy, it's really helping, and it's as you can see the results to say. So that's why these announcements come forth. But other than that, stay tuned for new announcements. You've seen the new logo. Follow me on Instagram at ithrivepodcast.com, also on Facebook as well, iThrive Podcast. Anyways, I'm going to finally get out the way, brothers and sisters, because I want to present our sister today. We got sister Shawnice Walls. Walls in the building today. I forgot where. Sis, where are you from? Again.
I'm from Minnesota.
Okay, Minnesota. I don't know if there's an accent there, so I can't get that with it. But welcome to the Thrive Podcast. How you doing this morning, sis?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed. How are you?
Wonderful. Oh, giving thanks. It's
Yeah.
tough times, tough roads, but still giving thanks. I must say. But welcome to the podcast. I'm truly grateful and thankful that you're here, able and willing to share your testimony. So like you are from Minnesota. Is that where you currently reside as well, or you reside elsewhere?
Well, I was born in Kankakee, Illinois, and I moved to Minnesota, where I'm currently living now, when I was 9.
Nine, okay. And where's Minnesota? To be honest, please don't bear with me. I only know these things because of NBA. So I know Minnesota Timberwolves, but I don't know like where is it around? Like,
It's the Midwest region, so it's next to Wisconsin, Michigan, North Dakota, Illinois. It's like right under
oh,
Canada.
okay,
It's
okay. So it's
yeah.
not too far from Chicago then.
No, it's like a
Okay.
6-hour drive, six and a half to
Oh,
Chicago.
okay, okay. Okay, this because from where we are in Canada, it's about maybe 7 hours, 8 hour drive to Chicago. So
Yeah.
maybe something like that from Minnesota. And so for
Yeah.
okay, all right, all right. Well, no, welcome to the podcast. You know what? Let me just go on ahead and get out the way and get your testimony, sis. Tell us. right from the beginning, from Kikiti, where you said you're born, Kikita, Kikuto, whatever you said you're born. And tell us, how did the Lord Jesus Christ bring you out of the world and
Yeah.
into God's church? Tell us.
Yes. Well, I want to give honor to our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank Him for the apostles and the prophets of old. I thank Him for our current day teacher, leader, and guide, General Overseer Apostle Gino Jennings. My current leader and our minister has his Elder Jennings at our Minnesota temple. Thank God for him and all the brethren that labor around the world. Along the side of Gino Jennings, teaching the truth of God faithfully, and all the saints that strive for holiness. Thank God for them. I grew up in Kankakee, Illinois. It's Kankakee, and
Kankakee.
it's about like an hour from Chicago. It's like really, it's like a little small city. We call it the ghetto. Um, it was me. I'm a sister out of six kids, so my mom had five girls and one boy. Um, we grew up. My mom grew up. I guess she wasn't really religious, but she started being religious, so we kind of grew up Jehovah Witness a little bit, and we lived like in what they call the projects. My mom had like a mental illness, which wasn't diagnosed at the time. So she went to jail a lot. And so we ended up living with my grandma, which is her mom. And then so we ended up combining. Well, so, one of my sisters separated. My oldest sister, the first sister, she was grown, so she didn't have to separate. Then the next, under her, she went living with her dad's side, and then it was me, my two older sisters from there, and then my younger brother. We moved with my grandma, and my cousin. I had a cousin there who was close to my age, and then my grandma owned a duplex, so my family lived up at the top one too. Um, so growing up, it was a little hard on us. We didn't have a lot. I got a lot of hand-me-downs, stuff like that. My mom wasn't around. We had aunties and uncles that was around. And so the reason why I'm starting there is because that's where I kind of like started to notice spirits. Um, my grandma, she was smoke. She's not here with us today, but she smoked cigarettes. Like she wasn't really active. She didn't do much with us either. We some of us was kind of like neglected, or I felt neglected. Speaking for myself, but one day we was all asleep, and how the room was set up, it was like a bunk bed on the one wall, and then her bed, like she slept separate, and then like, we all just slept in a room, this big old room. And one day she just got up and started running around, and we was like, "What is going on?" And she's like, "Get it off of me, get it off of me." And I'm like, and then they kept telling us like, "Just stay in the room, stay in the room." And I'm like, "Wait, this is not like her, because she's not like active, like she's
Mhm.
not like a mobile type of person." So I'm like, "What is going on?" And she's just like, "Get it off of me." And then so later, like the next day, they were saying like, "Oh, the devil was riding her." And I'm like, "What? Like, what is that?" And my mom used to tell us like a little bit about, like Satan and all that stuff, but she was, trying to teach us Jehovah Witness beliefs, like with the watchtowers, which is like a guide to help, you study the Bible, if you didn't know. But so later on, like we kind of got over that. And then it was like she got sick and went to the hospital. And I remember like my aunties would come over a lot to like they'll like take shifts on like taking care of us, and like we would like send her like with pictures and stuff, like we'll draw like little pictures for her and to take to the hospital, like, or whoever shift it was. um and then it just got weird from there, like Like they'll have us like walk around in circles. And but they didn't like what we was saying because we was kids, like so we would like turn it into jokes. Like we'd be like, I remember one time we was saying like, "Go, Granny, go, Granny, go, Granny, go," and it was like, "Don't say that. What do you mean go?" And I'm like, "We like what are we doing though? Like we're just literally walking around in a circle." So we started making it a game. So we had no idea what was going on. And then fast forward to like where she got like real sick. So they're like, okay, she probably not gonna make it. I remember us being like in that bedroom, and when you come out the bed, it's like a sheet. So that's why I was able to see her running around because it was like a sheer sheet that wasn't like a door. So if you open the sheet, you could go into the living room. And I remember my oldest sister was like sitting on top of my auntie, and then there was like another auntie, like they was trying to like get control over her. And they just had us walk out one by one, and they was praying over us one by one. And I remember seeing like my auntie, like she's on the ground, like trying to escape. And it was like another auntie that was just like I said, they couldn't get her control. So, I could hear all the motion that was going on out there, but I didn't know what was going on until it was time for us to like leave and get out of the room. They was trying to like take us out. But cause my mom, she was, I think she did have her own place, but we wasn't able to go live with her because we kept getting taken away from her because she was in and out of jail. But they just decided we was about to just go regardless of what the government or the state was saying. They was just going to let us go over there because of the conditions. And so as we went out the room one by one, and what I seen when it was my turn, I remember we even had two cats, and then like as soon as the door opened, like the cats ran out. Like they was like, no, I gotta, they was like ready to flee. So
They actually said no. The cat actually said no.
no, I mean that's from my perspective.
But
If
yeah, I
the
see what
cats
you mean.
could talk, they would have been like, look, I'm out of here. I don't know
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
going on here, but because these was inside cats, and it was just like soon as that door opened, they was like it was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was witnessing a lot at that, like literally just coming out of the room. It was just like my eyes is just, I'm just looking at all these things at the time. I'm like, what is going on? My uncles is here, like all like everybody was here. And they was like praying, like everybody was praying, and you could just hear like my aunties was just like saying like just weird stuff. And like leaving later on, like I found out like they was saying like they was possessed. And one of the aunties like even bit one of my uncle's like tip of his finger, like trying to like control them. So I'm like, oh.
And it was
So
all from one specific room, or like the entire house, you would say.
it was they were all in like in this room, like if you could picture like a living room, like but it was I think we only had like one couch as I can remember. And then like the front door, like they was like more towards like the front door. The auntie that they was like standing up trying to contain, and then like right by the room door, like when you leave out the room, that's where my sister was sitting on another auntie. And then when you like go past them, that's how you get through the kitchen to the back door. So we had to go past them to get through the kitchen to go through the back door because they
Mm.
was occupying like the area by the front door. And I guess she was like in a violent stage, and so the one that was being sat on, we had to pass her to get through the kitchen to go through the back door to leave. And that's when my one of my uncles took us to my mom's house. So not too long after that, I don't know if it was that day or a little after that, we found out my grandma passed away. We ended up going to her funeral. Like I don't even remember crying. I wasn't treated well in the house, so I was kind of relieved in a sense, but I was a little sad. But I wasn't
So when you
like
when you say you weren't treated well, like what, if you don't mind sharing, what because a lot of times this is, not spoken about on the outskirts. You always hear the kids are the misbehaved and they're causing trouble and all that type of stuff. Where would you say you were mistreated And it's like, or what were the, some examples that you can give based upon your mistreatment?
I would say like for an example, like my cousin, um, I feel like she got special treatment and like so when we would get into it or something like one time I remember she just came up to me and scratched my face for no reason. She just grabbed my face and scratched it and left me with all these scratches. And I'm like, and I told my grandma, I'm like, Grandma, Keisha, I ain't want to say no names. Sorry, Keisha. But she came and scratched my face. And I'm like, bro, like what? And so I told my grandma and my cousin, she used to go behind my grandma and just like rock. So I told, and she's like, come here. And all she did was ran behind my grandma. Like my grandma sit at the edge of the couch and just enough for her to get in the back. So she was like, she ran in the back of her. And my grandma was kind of like acting like she was getting her like, come on, girl. And trying to act like she was about to spank her, but she never did. So I'm just standing there watching, like, so she just literally got away with that. But when I do something, it was like you pull out the belt, you got all this energy to come and
Mhm.
find me and whoop me and make sure I stay down and and it was just like I did so much for attention because we didn't get a lot of attention unless our aunties or our uncles came by. And so, like, I would always get in trouble for things I did at school because I didn't know no better. Um, like, I just felt like I was being punished for stuff that I was never even taught. So,
Well,
I
please
don't,
elaborate on that, the attention part, because it is said that I think some child expert said if a kid is acting out in certain ways and whatnot, most
yeah.
likely it's because that's the only time they feel that the parent gives them attention and what is what they're requiring. So because it's something that you did not receive, what were you doing to get attention?
Um, well, I knew I wasn't gonna get it from home, so I started acting out in school. So, um, I wasn't really noticed a lot by the teachers at school. I mean, I had like friends, like this was like elementary school. Like I remember I even had like this little boyfriend and then the teacher was like, you can't have a boyfriend or like um I remember this girl lost her pennies and I took the pennies and they made us like all go in a classroom and put our head down on the table until somebody confessed that they took the pennies and I just threw the pennies underneath the desk and that's how I didn't know it was me. So I was doing a lot of stuff for like the teachers did not even wanna like bother with me. But then I remember one day we was all sitting at a round table and we were like coloring, drawing. I remember like kids just telling stories. And I didn't have like I couldn't relate. So I just like made up a story and it just kept going and going to the point where I was like, oh, I had an older brother. I've never had an older brother. And but I'm telling the teacher, like, oh, I have an older brother, he had a girlfriend. I'm telling her I killed him. Like I just made up this whole story. And then next thing you know, like my mom came to my grandma's house that day and I'm thinking she coming to see me like I'm like, oh my gosh, mom is visiting us because she would pop in our house every now, even though she wasn't supposed to. Like, she would come to my grandma's house sometimes and visit us, and or try to, because two of my sisters they didn't want to see her, so it was just me and my younger brother who was really excited to see her the most. But when she came that day, because I think the school called my grandma and my grandma must have called my mom, but I didn't know at this point. And so she was like really nice and she like even gave me a bath that day. So in the bath, after she washed me up, she just started tearing me up, just tearing me up, just whooping my butt. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, what? And I didn't see her that much after that day. So I mean, I learned not to do that at school, but I mean,
Sorry,
I didn't.
that's
I
I've
pretty
never heard that
much,
before. I've never heard that before. You're telling me she prepped you up nice. Yo, let me give her a nice bath. And
I
right
mean,
after, instantly, pam, 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 pam.
yes, I remember like it was yesterday. Yeah. So
And so I guess you were really when you so as you were, doing your best to get attention, was it like what did you want exactly? Like did you want people to be like, "Oh wow, Shanice, I'm impressed by your story," or like did you want the teachers to have certain, one-on-ones with you? Like what were you looking
yeah.
for by doing those stuff?
I guess looking back in hindsight, I'm able to see what I was looking for. I just wanted them to like maybe engage with me. Like they wasn't like really engaging with me. Like they was, telling the kids like, "Oh, your picture looked nice." I wasn't getting that. Like or and like we're in kindergarten. So I'm like, it was feeling like they wanted to engage more with the other kids. So like I just felt like I needed to start talking. Like I'm about to start talking
So you
and
could like
I'm gonna
notice
take
me.
all the attention. Yeah. So
Mm.
like and then once I found like I seen their faces was like all engaged, I just turned up a
Oh,
lot. Like
you went like a little bit too much now. You went all the way up now.
I just went as far as I can go. And now, oh yeah, that was a mistake, obviously. So yeah, after that, I was like, okay, I learned my lesson, and then it made me kind of like standoffish with the teachers. So now I'm like, I stopped like focusing on the teachers more so and started being more so around kids. But then I noticed like when I hung around like kids maybe a little more darker than me, and my mom is dark skinned, but my dad was like lighter skin, but his dad was dark skinned. His mom was just light, so he looks mixed. So I end up getting like his color, but I'm black as could be. But the darker kids, they didn't look at me like them. Like they thought I was trying to like be better than them. And I wasn't. I was literally just being me. But because I had long hair, I was light skinned, like sometimes they would do stuff like my cousin would do, who was darker skinned and just come up and scratch me or come up and pull my hair. So I knew I couldn't be around them. So I had to like start being around more so like it ended up being a colorism thing. Like I had to find people that looked like me because I
Wow.
had to figure out like, okay, they're not gonna treat me like this because they're pretty. They have long hair. They probably won't care to do that type of stuff to me. So
That's something. And
yeah.
that's like still elementary or when that
Yeah, it
occurred?
was still
Wow,
elementary. It was still in elementary.
that is
Um,
something.
yeah. So that was elementary school. You had to like I it was in the and then it was like in recess. I remember I got into it with a lot of older kids, like maybe one or two grades older than me, like outside of my classroom. And then like one even ended up being a relative. Like we ended up being at a reunion. Like she kept picking on me at school one day, and my step grandma on my dad's side was actually the principal of the school when I got to like maybe third grade. Um and then one day I'm like, I even had a dress on, which was rare, and I'm like, I was like, enough is enough. Like we about to fight today. And I took her on the playground, and I just went in on her. And then at the family reunion when we seen each other, she was like being nice for like a little while, and then she was like, she was like, I really don't fight like that. I really fight like a dude. So I that was just like, I was just caught off guard. And I'm just like, we're supposed to be fam now we're at this family reunion, like we're supposed to be family. Like why are you still like trying to fight? But that's when I started to feel like a loner. And so once we got to my mom's house from my grandma's house, um, but that situation with the school did happen at my grandma's, but then after that she passed all of that. So now we're at my mom's house, which wasn't too far from her house, but it's my brother, me, and my two older sisters, who was staying there. And so my mom, I think she ended up getting custody of us. We was going to stay with my uncle, but they couldn't take us all in. And so I think they ended up allowing her to get us again. And everything was good. Everything was fine. I was loving it.
Where was your dad in this
Um,
case?
so my dad, um, so my dad's side of the family, his dad had a wife. So I never met my real grandma, but I met his stepmom, and she found me. Um, and then she kept trying to get me to meet my dad. I used to hear stories about my dad, but I never really like seen him around. So when she found me, I got excited like I was gonna meet my dad. And then she had this big old house. And I was like, oh, this is what my dad's side looking like. So, but I'll go over there and everybody, she was like well known. They was like calling her Miss Walls, and I'm like, I've never even heard of her. And so I was like 8, and then or 8 or 9. And then I remember one day, she was like, you're gonna meet your dad today. She called my sister or something. She was like, and she had lived like a block over, so I could literally run through the houses, run across the alley and get to her house. So I remember that day I did. I jotted through the houses. She was like, come, you gonna meet your dad today. Cause she would come pick me up every now and then, take me out to eat or spend time with me. And so that day I came and I just sat at the table and he was there. So he came and I guess he didn't know I was coming. So he was like shocked to see me. And he looked just like me. So I knew he was my dad. And then he started like showing me pictures of all these other kids. Like, oh, this is not my biological kid, but this is my kid. I take care of her. And I just remember looking at this girl's skin, and I'm like, wait a minute, like she was so like dark. And for the record, I don't have nothing against dark skinned people. It's just that was just my what my mind was going at this age.
Yeah.
But and then I remember he whipped out like a picture of like this little boy, and then it was like another girl. And I was like, why don't you have a picture of me? And I'm your actual kid. And but I didn't ask him that. I just was like, okay, that's nice, like when am I gonna get to meet him? And then I remember like he was just like in a hurry to go. He was like, yeah, you want something from the store? I'm like, yeah, let me get some hot Cheetos and a grape soda. And I never seen him again. I sat at that table
Wow.
waiting and waiting and waiting. I went to sleep at that table. He never came back. And I know like it'd be like stuff on like the like on social media where it's like, oh, when your dad go to the store and never come back. I was one of those kids. So every time I see that on like Instagram or Facebook when I
Like
had it,
the milk reference when they send me go get a bag of milk, and
yes, like
we-
I'm like that literally was me. Like I remember I waited for that grape soda and that hot Cheetos, and he just never came. I never seen him again after that.
how old were you at that time?
I was like 8 or 9. I was
How
like
did
eight
you
or
how
nine.
did you feel? How did that make you feel?
Oh my god, I'm holding back tears now because it was like I was like, dang, like I thought I had a chance. Like I wanted to tell him like all the stuff that I went through. I wanted to know what his life was like, and I'm like, dude, like you signed my birth certificate. Like, why are you not in my life? Like it just made me feel abandoned, like I wasn't worthy, like I was just like what everybody else was like already treating me. Like I'm like,
Hmm.
well, my own dad doesn't want me, so maybe maybe all the treatment I was getting was what I deserved. Um, but that's
And
what I
he never made mention like, oh, I'm not your actual father. Your mom's like nothing. He didn't even.
no.
He just disappeared like that.
He never really even acknowledged me. Like I said, he was just like talking about all these other kids. And like he didn't really like say like like no, I don't even remember him asking me like how was school, like nothing, like I don't remember none of that, like just hey, I literally like the most vivid moments out of that conversation was those pictures and him asking did I want something from the store. Besides that, like I don't remember him like asking much of what about me, or what do you have a picture of you I could put in my pocket. Like it was like nothing like that. You got all these people you whipping out your pocket. I remember he had this flannel on with a pocket, and he's just whipping these pictures out. And I'm like, so in my mind, like, and maybe I should have said something, but I wasn't thinking that because I'm just like staring at him, like just basking in the moment. And my step grandma, she wasn't like too far. She was standing around in the room too, so she was like there. So I was just like so happy to see him. I probably was just like smiling and just like looking at him and just listening to whatever he was saying and wondering, like, I think I might have asked him where he lived or something like that. I told him that I met my cousin who was his sister's daughter. I did tell him I met her, and then that was probably it. Like the converse, it was like probably 5 minutes. It wasn't like long at all.
So, okay, so you're 8 or 9. You haven't seen him for like 8 or 9 years. And the conversation there was from you're saying 5 minutes. And here it is. He even asked, he didn't even say, I'm gonna get something. He literally asked you, do you want something? Now you're thinking, okay, we're probably gonna have a conversation or something. And
Yeah.
you're sitting there. You said you even fell asleep there. And he just
Yeah.
did not come back. So what did your uh the grandmother like what did they say?
Um, she really didn't say much. I can't, or if she did, I don't remember it. She didn't like, I don't remember her like was like say much about him around me, or if there was any type of feeling toward him. She wasn't going to say it around me. Um, I just remember her being like, just still her upbeat self. Like she wasn't like, she was just like, come on, go to bed. Um,
No, no,
after
I'm talking
that,
about your his mom or his step grandma or the one that
yeah.
invited you over. Or it was her that
Yeah.
just she didn't say
Yeah,
much?
I don't remember her saying much other than allowing me to like, just wait for him. And then like she told me, I
What?
remember she told me to go to bed. Um, I remember her just not, I don't remember her saying much. And maybe because she didn't really know me, she was just trying to get to know me. I used to babysit for her. She would leave me at her house by herself, like sometimes, like even at that age. And I just remember her like after a while, like I remember her starting to critique me a lot about things, and it's like, well, like I said, like okay, well, somebody teach me this stuff. I don't like I'm just going off of what I want to do, what I can do. Like so, I want to help you, I want to babysit, but if it's something I'm doing wrong, you're supposed to show me. But I wasn't getting that type of teaching. It was just more so like, oh well, you're not doing it right, or you're doing it wrong. But it was like in a way where it was like it wasn't like effective for me. I was not learning that way, so that and instead of teaching me, it was just like, oh well, you can't do it no more. So then I didn't come back to her house till like I was like in my teens.
That's tough. And tell us from what happened. Tell us more of this, journey and story, from, 8, 9 years old. Here it is before these kids, all right, they don't want me. I get that. That's cool. That's cool. All right. I'm gonna, seek attention. Oh shoot.
Mhm.
Dad? Man, I haven't seen him 8, 9 years. Let me run. Let me go see him.
Yeah.
Not even five,
um
maybe 5. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I'm a backtrack a little bit. When we left my grandma's house and went to my mom's house, just a little experience about how it was there. It was like I said, everything was going good, and then she started to like we started to see a little bit more of her mental illness, and so now I got to see what my other sisters was going through with her when I was younger. The reason why they didn't want wasn't excited to see her when she was coming over. Now I'm getting a glimpse of it. So she was going through like paranoia, schizophrenia. And I remember she would make us get dressed like we were going to church. Like we barely went to the Kingdom Hall, but we got dressed like it on Sundays because Denzel Washington was supposed to come and get us and marry her. And so, yeah, I'm just being honest. Um,
not laughing at your situation. I'm not laughing at your mom. I'm not. That just came out of that just came out of nowhere. Cause I'm like, wait, who?
Yeah.
So she, right? Wow. So she told y'all that get dressed. Denzel Washington is coming. Like, did she take drugs? Did she like what was it? She just became crazy like that.
She, I call it phases because sometimes she's good, and then one minute you don't know what you get in, and most of the time, like later in the story, it turned to like her obsession with Satan. But then it was like for during this time, like when I was still like fresh out of my grandma's house, probably like 5, 6, 7 ish. So this was before I met my dad. Um, we would get dressed because Denzel was coming. Like she loved Denzel. Um, now I feel like she was still like she believed in Jehovah, but we wasn't doing like too much Bible study in this house. Like it was just like she kept us from a lot. Like sometimes she'd keep us from school, like she sheltered us a lot, and we couldn't do a lot because she just was like everything was like demonic. And so, but that was one thing that we would do, and I'm just like, and I was excited for her. I'm like, we finna get a new life. Denzel finna walk through this door, and my mom finna be married to Denzel. But then I've obviously let fast forward to today. I'm like thinking now, like, dude, he got a whole wife, Pauletta,
Yeah.
and I'm
Hmm.
like, what was like, okay, but
Hmm.
if you ask her today, we never did that. So but I remember the dresses, the black and white dresses we used to put on. We used to look sharp, well greased up, everything. And we would just wait and tarry there, just like I was waiting for my dad. We was waiting for Denzel. And he never came. So we did that probably like 3 or 4 times.
So y'all, you did you really believe he was like at that age? You really
Yes. I believed with my whole heart. Like how my mom believed, I believed. I'm like, we all believed. And I mean, my sister could try to deny it, but I know they believed it too. Like y'all know Denzel was supposed to walk through that door according to what we was preparing for. We was preparing for Denzel every Sunday. We didn't go to church. We didn't go to Kingdom Hall. We was waiting for Denzel. I
that's
remember that.
wow.
And
That-
that's how I knew about Denzel. Other than that, shoot, I was listening to rappers and singers. I wasn't worried about no Denzel.
Right.
Um, but that was the most significant thing in there, other than the whoopings. The whoopings was like crazy because we'd get whooped with extension cords and like switches, and them things was hurting. Like,
Mm.
oh, it was bad. And so I wasn't really happy with those whoopings, but yeah, I remember getting whooped out of my sleep. Um, so that was like another thing that I was like, dang, like, so I had to try my best not to get whoopings. I remember that, like, I tried to be as good as a kid as I could in her presence, because I did not like the whoopings because she was going in. But then, she went through another phase. I think she ended up like spitting on a cop, telling them she had AIDS or something. So they end up keeping her. She didn't have it, but that's what she told them. And then so that's when we moved with my oldest sister, her first daughter. And then that's when I got closer to like my stepdad house. And my older sister, it probably was like out of all of the places I've ever lived in my life, those was the worst times I've ever had. So in that house, it was like I was getting into it with the blocks. I was let chasing boys or little neighborhood nappy head boys that was around. And I remember I got my foot ran over, like a little bit. And this was when I know God was with me, but I wasn't thinking about God, but I know
Mhm.
God was with me because I remember when I was being at a park and we went to this far park because it had a tire swing. It wasn't no tire swing by our house, and we will walk far to go be on this tire swing. And I remember we went to the store or something. I went up crossing the street, and this was a busy street, so I'm trying to like keep up with these kids, and so I'm trying to hurry up and cross the street. And I remember I took a step back and I took a step forward, and the car just went, phew, And I couldn't feel it right away until I started walking and I started limping. And then all the pain just started coming, like almost like a TV fell out the sky or something.
Mm.
Like it was just bad. I remember the ambulance had to cut my shoe off and everything, and I was on crutches for a while. Um, so that happened, and that was like the most significant stuff that happened in the house, other than me finally seeing my dad. And then so we left that house. Um, it's kind of blurry from there on what happened. I think
So
my
pretty,
mom.
so pretty much what goes next when you get that rejection from your own, biological father? Where, tell us your journey and how you grew up from there. What lane did you decide to pursue?
Um, Well, after that, I think my mom got her stuff together. She got the kids that wanted to go to Minnesota. So that's when we moved to Minnesota. We came here, it was me, my sister, one of my sisters and my brother. And then my other sister, she stayed back with my oldest sister, who I was living with at the time I met my dad. And when we got up here, we was living in a shelter. Um, so we was getting to know people. I would like go with my older sister to like this bowling alley we used to call Game Works. It's not here anymore, but it was like a popular hangout spot. So I would get like boys' numbers and call them at the shelter and lie like I wasn't at the shelter. But stuff didn't go that far like there. But I would lie my age. I was like 12 or something, and I'd tell boys I was like 16, and because I looked it. But then after that we got a house, and now like everybody was like starting to tell me, oh, you're so pretty, like you're gonna be a star and all this stuff. So now I'm getting all this like, oh, star, like you like type of compliments now. And I remember I was like into spelling bees and stuff like right before I left Kankakee. So like my aunties would tell me like, keep going with that. So um when I came up here and we finally moved into our house, after living in a shelter, um, we had started going to school, and my mom was like buying us things like PlayStations. We'd go to the Mall of America, and we was doing things like we was having fun with our mom. And so one day, um, I remember I was upstairs, like it was like a 3-level house, and I was upstairs and I kept hearing stuff. And I'm like, what the heck is going on down there? And I kept on trying to avoid it because I thought maybe my brother was just getting a whooping or something. And then something just told me to go down there. So I went downstairs, and in the living room, my sister was standing by the door, and my mom was on top of my brother. She had bit his face. And she had looked up at me. I remember like she looked up and she said, "What are you looking at, you little bee?" And that was the first time she ever called me out my name. And I'm like, holy crap. But she didn't even sound like herself. And I look at my brother, he on the ground crying with a whole bite mark on his face. And so my sister at that point, I think when I came downstairs, I distracted my mom to the point when my sister came and kicked my mom. And then she ran out the door. My mom ran like an NFL player, like jotted out the door after my sister. No shoes on, gown, like a bonnet on, just because I'm looking out the door and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna catch her. And I can't remember if she caught her this day, but she was gone like a track star. And then I tried to like help my brother um the best way I can. He was crying. I remember like later on, she was like so like hurt. Like she was like sad that she did it. And then like I still clicking in my head that she was possessed. Like when my mom used to be in the house, like she was obsessed with the news. That's why I don't really watch the news, because of how I see and how she is with the news. Like that's all she would watch. She would talk to the TV, and like I don't know what the news was doing to her, but the news is doing definitely doing something to her. and she would stay in bed a lot. Um, she wasn't really active like my grandma. Like she wasn't really active. So to see her up and about, it was like, is somebody about to get a whooping? Are we going somewhere today? Are we going grocery shopping? Did the stamps come? Like it was like, if she moving, like, it has to be an event going on. So that was our life there. So after that incident happened, I think she kept him from school around. I think the child protection started to get involved. Um, I think at one point, like, she whooped him with a belt buckle on the wrong side of the belt and left a mark. And
Jeez.
so I think they started to get involved. And I remember like one day we just playing the PlayStation. Like she would come and take games and like, no, y'all not playing this away anymore. It's the devil. I was like, okay, taking our Grand Theft Auto, taking us everything. And one day the police came knocking on our door. And then they was just like, are y'all like aware of all the stuff that's in your yard? So we like, what are y'all talking about? And they was talking to my mom too at the time, but it made like us as the kids who was curious, like, what are you talking about? Because we ain't went outside like that in a while. So we go outside and like everything she was snatching from us, all the stuff she was taking, TV, she was just throwing it in the yard. So the whole yard is just spread it. Like you could see CDs, DVDs, TVs, clothes, just everything just spread in the yard. And I think the neighbors was like starting to like snitch on her and call the police. So they end up taking her away. And in Minnesota, we didn't realize this way different from what you was going to Kankakee. They don't take you to jail and let you out. They lock you up in a crazy facility here. So we didn't see her for a long time. So I think my sister was like 15. I might have been 12. My brother might have been like 10. So we was living in our house by ourselves for like a month. Like just nobody because
Wow.
my mom was taken. So they told her they was taking her to the hospital, but they had a crazy like unit at the hospital, like a mental ill unit at the hospital. And I guess she had hit a nurse from trying to like shoot her or with a shot, like with their medicine or whatever. And then I remember we would like go to the park and stuff still. Like my sister was like doing what she had to do to kind of like feed us. And I think one day she like told a woman at the park that we was living by ourselves. So this woman from the park came to like help us, but I guess she couldn't do it no more. So she called like the closest relative, what happened to be my oldest sister that was in Kankakee. So then they ended up coming, her husband, her son, and then my other sister. So then now we all living in the house together. And when she came, but then or no, I think we ended up going in a Greyhound to her, and then we all came together because we went back there for a little bit, and then we came all together, and then so after that, I started living with my sister, and that's when that's when all the crazy happened. Like all that wasn't even the crazy stuff, but when it lived with her,
Okay.
so living with her it was hard. So it was just I don't even know where to start there, but um yeah, she was something. I can tell she has something, but she probably just never been diagnosed. But she was something. Her husband, he was really nice. Now he was really nice. When she married him, they wasn't I don't know. I ain't gonna put all her business out there like that, but she shouldn't be married to this man in the first place. He was way younger than her. And so when we moved here, she was already doing like some of the stuff in Kankakee, like around the time we was living together, but it wasn't as bad when we moved to Minnesota. Like she would keep him in the room, like locked up in the room.
Her
And he would
husband?
have to, yeah. And he would have to pee in these Sprite bottles. And when he had to like go number two, she would stand at the door and like guard the door. And he's never like tried anything with us, like inappropriately wise, but that's what her fear was like he wanted one of us or something. Like really it was really me, and I was the youngest out of all the sisters. I'm like, why you think that's me? So I remember like she used to like make us dispose the bottles. Like, and I would just smell his pee. And then he grew this obsession of like spitting in a jar. And like it was bad. And and I ain't gonna put her business out there, but I'm gonna say this. I'm sorry if you watch this ever. I don't care. It's the truth. Um, and I forgive you. But she will walk around like just in a shirt, like no underwear, no nothing, just a big old shirt. And so she would sit on the couch, and we would smell the couch, like so after her and smell the couch because she was naked on the couch, and we was like kids, like we would do like weird stuff like that and dare each other, like go smell the couch, like or like man, I could go more than that, but I don't want to put her out there like that. But I remember one day, like she was on her cycle, and she had her pad in her, and but no underwear. And I had a sleepover, and I guess we was being too loud. And she came in the room, she busted in the room like, stop all that noise, or her friends gonna have to go home, something like that. And she turned around, everybody seen her butt in the pad, and nobody said nothing. Like everybody just sat there, like they didn't even go back to school and start talking about me. Like nobody never, like I never heard it like in the streets ever. Like
No,
it
because it
just
seemed like people genuinely seeing that something is really wrong here.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
wow.
And so yeah, so another significant part before I move on to the next
And
phase.
how old were you during that time all that was going on?
Um I was like 12,
Wow.
13. Yeah. And like we didn't eat much. Like my mom food stamps rolled over to her, but I remember us not eating much. And my mom had a deep freezer with a lock on it, but she didn't lock it from us. Now that's one thing my mom did. She made for sure we was fed, that she we never went hungry. But when my sister came, like we barely ate. And I remember like she even started working at Pizza Hut, and then like they'll bring home pieces, but they wouldn't share it. Like she'll just share it amongst her husband and her son. And like she'll make us come upstairs and get the box. And there'll be like sausages in the box. And we'll be like digging for the sausages, whatever sausages rolled off the pizza. Like we barely ate. Um, is what I remember. And the times we did eat, like she made it a big deal. Like we was grateful. Like we should be grateful. Um, and then the food wasn't even good either. It was gross. But we had to eat it because we was hungry. But so I went through a lot of stuff like that with the sister, and I'm gonna wrap up her household. So I
So as
remember,
as you move on to the next, just a question. So
yeah.
your oldest sister and your mom, like, did they have like similarities in how they were in terms of like the paranoia, schizophrenic stuff, or like was your sister always like that from a young age?
Mm-mm.
So
I think
could,
I
could you
don't
say?
think she I don't, I don't think she had paranoid schizophrenia, but it's I don't know. It's
Because
definitely
how much older? How many more years was she older than you at the time? Because she's
she was
married,
like
like,
in her 30s, like
oh, so okay, then
maybe
you wouldn't know.
30s. No,
You wouldn't know, because yeah,
no. I just remember her always like accusing us of things. Like I remember when I used to come home late, 'cause I started smoking at the age of 12, but I had an older friend crowd. So
like
I would
smoking
come in,
cigarettes, weed,
no, I would smoke marijuana and black and miles.
black and mild.
Um and I
Wait,
had older
how,
friends.
I could understand how you would probably get weed at that time. How did you get black and mild?
Oh, the bootlegs. They used to
Oh,
have
okay.
bootlegs back in the day.
So
So
it,
yeah,
like
I'll
they
go
would
to
just give
somebody's
it to you?
house. Yeah, I could just go up to the door and hand them my little dollar or two. And
Okay, okay. So you'd give
yeah,
them a little. Okay, okay.
yeah, they had
And they
whatever
and
you
they
need.
knew that you were 12, and they
They
still
probably
did.
didn't know.
They didn't, but they
They
had to have known you were some kid, like at least.
yeah.
they didn't know at that time you clearly didn't look like a grown woman. Like, yo, this is a
Yeah.
kid, and they still, here you go.
Oh yeah. I remember with some white people too. It was I remember their face. I remember the face. Like they had glasses on. I remember like they open their door, ask what you need, you give them money, they close their door. And that was
And
it.
what led you to, you know, I know you were going through a lot of crazy stuff, but what was the
Yeah.
time where I was like, yo, I need some weed, or I need some black and mild? Like, what led to that?
Um just trying to be cool. Like I had older friends that was doing it. Like my friends, I was 12, but my friends was like 14, 15. And I met them at a park, but we was like going to similar schools, or like where our schools was like we ended up going to the same schools eventually. And they was already doing it, so we would I told them to pass it to me. Um, and so I just started doing it to be cool at first, but then I started doing it because I wanted to, and it was a habit after that. Um, but yeah, so I was coming in the house late just from doing that type of activity. I thought I was a little blood back then. I used to hang with bloods. And so I started calling myself one. And so we would, but we wasn't doing like we wasn't like active at that moment. I was just trying to get out there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm new to Minnesota. I'm trying to like figure out what is it to Minnesota and trying to be cool, trying to be on everybody's good side. And not really too much, you know, not have friends basically. I was trying to be cool. And I would come home late from doing that type of activity. And I remember, and I'm sharing this because I'm hoping, like us, because like I said, I don't want to put too much of her business out there, but I want to like help somebody. Um, but I remember my sister was like, she'll like sit me down, and she'll be like, yeah, um, I know that you out here having sex, and guys only want ugly girls because they're tighter. And so you just you're just being like you could tell me if you're doing it, but you know you is. And she was even telling me like I can't even go into much detail, but I remember her telling me like the back, and of course, like I remember her telling me that, and like telling me like, and like comparing it to like using the bathroom. It was just a lot going on in this conversation. And so what I got out of the conversation was guys want either virgins or ugly girls because they tighter. I didn't know what exactly she was talking about
Mhm.
at that time. I had an idea. I mean, I was only like humping at this time. Like I wasn't like into like whatever she was explaining. I didn't know. Like she wasn't explaining like, oh well, if you having sex, use the condom. Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, and I'm just like, oh, okay. So after that, when because before that, boys would ask me to rub on certain areas, and I was uncomfortable. I wouldn't let them. But then after that, I was like scared that they wasn't gonna ever like me because I'm like, okay, all my life I've been told I was pretty. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna start letting these guys do it. So I started letting like grown men grab a hold of my boobs if they wanted to, stuff like that, to try to see like what is she talking about. Like everything she explained, I had no idea what she was talking about. So I was trying to see what she was talking, like what are you talking about? Because I had stuff at that
And
age.
you were 12 at that time.
I
12 or
was
13.
yeah, I was 12. I think I was 12, probably going on 13. But I was 12. No, I was 12. I was 12. Yeah, I was 12.
And so when you say like,
From like 18 to 25. Um, yeah, I was like,
these guys, they knew, so did any of them who want to like do that, did they ever like, did they know you were 12? Or
um, some of them knew. Some of them knew because I remember one time I lied to this one guy, but he was real. Men are other men is. this guy's friend was cool, so he told him like he knew me, but he didn't care. Like a lot of people didn't care. Like a lot of people found out later that I was lying, but they didn't care. It was like they didn't care about that. But yeah, and then yeah, I went out there and um so I ended up losing my virginity at 12, and it was bad. Like it
Now,
wasn't
now,
like
now, now, hold it. You're gonna continue on. I just
yeah,
because this is some very serious stuff here and very
yeah,
important, but I want people to catch on what is because I was even speaking to my little sisters the other day and whatnot this way, and I say it moreover, girls who have terrible relationships with their dad or there's just none at all. My experience, even before coming in truth, were some of the ones who were very, let's say, like you were messed up, but in terms of the situation you were in.
yeah.
And here it is. That's why I asked you, like, and you see what the lane you're going in. Here it is, 8, 9 years. You're already dealing with rejection, and you deal with it from your own biological father.
Hmm.
Literally, yeah. Let me get some hot Cheetos and grape juice. And now it's like, here we are. So, tell us is
Hmm. Yeah.
how, like, man, I mean, you didn't gotta go into like,
No.
you know what I'm saying? But no, tell us, like, because this is, no lie,
Yeah.
this is tough. This is tough to hear.
Yeah, it's tough to tell too, but
This is wow. So go
um
ahead. So you're
yeah,
12, you start letting them, yeah, touch me there, this and that.
yeah.
And
So I would go to parties, like the house parties was like real big back in the day. And like like I said, I was just letting people just touch on me. I was just like, okay, well, like I never had, like I said, like I wasn't being taught. Like I was being told,
yeah,
if that makes sense. So I like nobody cared to know what I was really doing. Like out there, I was smoking, I was kicking it. I wasn't doing whatever she was telling me I was doing. I was smoking,
yeah,
but and drinking, um, but I wasn't too heavy on the drinks at that point. Now I didn't start becoming like a heavy drinker till like 15. But so after that, um like she just kept getting weirder. Life kept going. I was getting in trouble at school. Um, I fought a lot at school. I felt like I had to prove myself because in Minnesota now it's different from Kankakee. You really gotta fight now because that's what everybody do. And I was be scared because a lot of people who was like trying to fight me most of the time was like older than me, and I'm like, I mean, I gotta learn how to fight. And then so I just started fighting a lot. And I figured out I had hands. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm looking for fights. I'm like, so now now I'm gonna let y'all know, like, if y'all want to fight me, this is how y'all gonna end up. So I make sure I fought like in the lunchroom where everybody see like I was like being bad, wasn't caring about school or nothing, but I was getting in a lot of fights. And I ended up in detention one day, and I didn't come straight home, but because I remember like my sister, like when she wasn't at home, she wouldn't let us stay at home. And that was another reason why I was in the streets a lot, because like she had some type of paranoia or whatever about us being around her husband. So if she wasn't at home and she needed to leave, like we all had to go. Like she might let one of my sisters stay or something, or my brother, but um I had to leave the house because she didn't want me in the house with him. So that's how I met some of my friends. And then I remember I left detention one day and I got on the bus that went to this place called Sabathany, and my sister was there along with some of my friends. And I remember we was chilling, and my older sister came to pick us up. And And so she didn't know I was there. She thought she was just picking up them. She didn't. I don't even think she knew I had detention that day. Um, so she came and pick us up, and you know them like old school vans where they kind of open like this in the
Yeah.
back, like um with the curtains and stuff on the window.
Yes, yes.
So we got in that her van. I sat all the way in the back row, and she started driving, and then she just stopped the car in the middle of the street. And we like, okay, what's going on? So it's my sister and my friend and me in the way back row. She opened those doors. She pulled me by my hair and yanked me over the seat and threw me on the street. And she said, go find somewhere else to live. And I was like, and I just was like, and then my friend was like shocked. Like she was like, go to my house, go to my house. And she hurried up and closed the door. My sister closed the door. But my friend was saying, like, go to my house. And I'm just sitting on the ground, like, and like I was in shock. Like, and I just looked at the car riding off. Like, and I'm like, okay. So I started walking to my friend's house. Um, at 12. So fast forward to that. Um, I mean, I guess it did get worse, but I still label her the worst house. So I ended up going to my friend's house. It was good for like the first 2 weeks. She didn't know I was gonna be there permanently. I had nowhere else to go. So she stopped being my friend. She started being mean to me. They started to talk about me. I was really skinny, and they was like more on the thicker side. I guess big butts was in and all that stuff back then. I didn't have it. And they'll talk about me like they was like, well, your thighs touch. They don't like touch.
Yeah.
They're like talking. So I kept trying to get like thick like them. Um, I remember like she'll buy me clothes at first, then she stopped. Um, I used to have to wear like the same clothes over and over. I started like writing fake books. Um, we used to have like competitions at school, like who could write the most like intriguing um like romance books, because that was popular back then, like the coldest winter ever, that book and all that stuff, like any book like that was like popular. So we started writing our own books. I remember I wrote one, and then her mom found it and was like telling everybody like everything in the book was true, everything was about me, and I'm like, no, 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 it's fake. Like if you look in the book, the girl is 15, I'm not 15, like it's fake. But no, they told everybody that was me. So I was like, okay. So I had to go through that a lot. Like, of everybody was like, just had this impression of me, with which I mean was which I did go through a lot. But the stuff that they were saying, like, it wasn't me. Like they was going off of what my sister told them. Like my sister ended up talking to my friend's mom. They had a conversation, and I heard them like talking, and she even told her like my uncle had sex with me, and I'm like, no, 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 no. My uncle's never had sex with me, and I'm like, tell the truth. Tell her why I'm really here. Like she just was like, I guess trying to make it seem like I was just so out of hand that she had to throw me out or whatever. So, um, I was going through a lot at that house, and so I ended up becoming like the little Cinderella. Like I had to do everybody's folding, um, cleaning up and stuff like that. I used to get paid for it though, like because my friend's mom's kids, they didn't care to do that type of stuff, so she started paying me for it. But man, sometimes I didn't, and sometimes it was just like I felt like I was being overworked, like I felt overwhelmed. Because there was a lot of people in that house too, and they had a lot of clothes. A lot of, like, I even had to fold her brother's underwear. Like I had to fold everything. And so I was sharing room with her at first, but then like I said, she kind of like got tired of me. And so I had to sleep with her mom. Her mom was going to school for criminal justice, but I guess she used to be an addict, and she was just like getting clean. And so looking back in hindsight, I guess she was like just, she was happy to get her mom back, but then all of a sudden she had to share her with another female. So back to living in that house, so I had to sleep with her. And her son, my friend's brother, which was like 1 year apart, he slept on like a couch. So it's like if you go downstairs in the basement, it's like finished. And then like alongside of the wall is a fireplace. And then on that wall is a TV. And then you got the table in the middle. And then you got a couch. So he would sleep on the couch and we would put an air bed and move the table and sleep in the middle of the couch and the fireplace. And then in the back of the basement, it was like a pool table and like clothes, like a big old closet kind of wrapped around, and a bathroom. So that's where we slept. And so sleeping in that house, I remember like he used to always kiss me in my sleep. Like he'll get up in the middle of the night, kiss me in my sleep, or like try to lean over him on like my phone would be next to me and he'll kiss me and he'll be like, "Oh, I was reaching for your phone." And I'm like, dude, he'll rub on me and do stuff to me in my sleep right next to his mom. Like his mom was laying this way and I lay at her foot. My head was at her foot. Um, and I remember one day, because MySpace was hot at this time, so we was on MySpace on the computer. I had left my turn alone. He was on the phone, talking, and I had went back downstairs. I had went to sleep, and his mom kept saying like, "What is he doing? What is he doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. He's on the phone. I don't know." I stopped caring about him because he was weird. Like, so I didn't kick it with him and all this. I didn't want to be around him. Like I tried to avoid him as much as possible. He was just weird to me. And I'm like, I don't know. Like he's upstairs. Like he's on the computer. I don't know. Like she kept waking me up, asking me what he's doing. I'm like, I'm sleeping next to you. Like I know. And like I'll keep going back to sleep, and she's like, "What is he doing?" I'm like, "Girl, like at this point, you like I don't know." So she woke me up. So she got up and turned on the light. And she was like, "Get up!" And I'm like, "Okay." So I got up. And she's like, "Oh, you don't know where he is? You don't know what he doing?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." She was like, "Get up." So he rose up from the side of the bed. And I'm like, I never knew he was there. I didn't. And he had on a muscle shirt. He's like pulling it down, like trying to hide himself. Like he's pulling it down. And I'm like your face, like I'm like, what? So I'm waking up. She was like, "Get up." So he got up and I think I went to the bathroom. He got dressed. They went upstairs. She called my sister over because my sister and us, we didn't live that close, that far away. The house that I had to leave from, we didn't live that far. It was walking distance, like a block or two. So she ended up coming over and I can hear them all talking about me. Like, just, "Oh, I told you. I told you she was nasty. I told you she was like this." And I'm just listening, like, I never did nothing with this dude. Like, if anything, he doing something to me. And then I go upstairs and it was like, "You didn't put your mouth on his penis," like saying stuff like that. And I'm like, "No, I didn't." And then they asked him and he'll just look like not saying yes or not saying no. And I'm like, "Dude, tell the truth. Like, I ain't never did no stuff like that with you." And he just didn't. So I went downstairs and I was like, "Okay, I'm about to kill myself." I'm like, I can't keep going through this no more. So I was about to do it. I was trying to get like find something. I found a razor and I was trying to take the blade out of the razor. And then the grandma, because we live with the grandma and the grandma ended up coming down the stairs. And she was like, "Shawnee's, I believe you. I know it." And she was like, if Dale ever tries something, you tell me." And she was like, "But I believe you. I know it's hard." And I'm like hiding the razor. And like she didn't know. So she went back upstairs and I kept looking upstairs. I'm like, "Okay, I can do this. I can do this until I'm 18. I can be grown and then I can leave and flee from this place. I should be able to last until I'm 18." That's what I had to tell myself. Like I had to like maybe that's when the pep talks began. Like I just started talking to myself. And I remember I would start humming and stuff and doing like just stuff by myself. and they didn't like it. Like it was like, stop doing that. That's weird. Like and like you sound like the whatever, like off like a scary movie or something. And I'd be like, okay. And I stopped humming. So I started singing. Um, because it was something I needed to like keep joy inside of me. Like I wasn't getting it from the world. So I had to like find it within. And but it got easier with the mom. I think because she put me on punishment a lot. I'd be on punishment like 3 months at a time. And but it ended up getting easier with her later on. I think she started to see what her son was really about, and he was in and out of jail. He was going through stuff with other people too. It wasn't just me. So then one day he went to jail, but it would be like these little boy home jails. And then I'd be happy when he gone. I'd be like, whew, yes. And I remember one day we was barbecuing because they had family members that live across the street, and they all would come together a lot of times, and we was barbecuing. And he was on the run from whatever house he or group home jail. He was on the run. So they they was like, okay, everybody know when Ira come. There I go, I name dropped again. Bleep. So it was like when he come, let us know. And so he came, but it's a barbecue. It's outside. I'm in the basement on the computer. I think the computer moved to the basement, and I'm but like near the pool table. So when he came downstairs, so when I seen him, I'm in my head thinking like, should I go say something? But he would have had to pass two whole families,
Mm-hmm.
to get to me. So I'm thinking like, and I already knew. I'm like in my head like I already knew nothing was gonna happen. Like nothing ever happens when he get in trouble. He is just they just like my cousin. Like she gets just run behind the mom and that be it. So I'm on MySpace and I just went on about my business and I can hear him like clicking the pool balls on the pool table. So all I hear is clickety click, click, click. And all of a sudden, boom, like my head just like I just like dazed, like I go out for like 3 seconds or less. I just remember like blacking out and my head like coming off of the screen. And I touched my head and it was bleeding. So I thought he threw a pool ball at my head. But he had a hammer in his head. And he was like, yeah, little nigga. And I'm like, what the heck? I think like a piece of skin or something was on my hand. So I ran upstairs and I go to I'm looking for people. Nobody's in the house. So I'm like, Grandma, he just hit me in the head with a hammer. And she was like, what? But she wasn't responding quick enough. I thought I was about to die. So I ran outside. I don't know if I called my real family or what, but they ended up coming. And I remember like not my oldest sister, but one of my older sisters was hugging me and was just crying and like trying to like hold my head and they call the ambulance. And then my older sister came like with a bat, acting like she was finna do something, wasn't doing nothing. And then the boy came out with a shotgun, talking about, oh, ain't nobody gonna do nothing. And it was like all these families around, so I know she wasn't gonna do nothing because she didn't want to get beat up by all these people. So they took me to the hospital. I ended up getting 13 stitches in my head. And then I remember like he ended up going away. And then they like brainwashed me into saying like he never did it. Cause when I had like what's that called? Retract my story, like he would write me and be like, I'm sorry. Like he would be like weird about his words. And she would be like the same way. She would be like, we're family. He'll never do something like that to you. And if you do tell, you're gonna go live with white people. They're gonna rape you. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. If you go back and you go tell and you go on that stand and you tell what he did, this will gonna happen to you. But I was already experiencing it in a house. But as a kid in my mind, I'm like, look, I don't want to go to the white people house and deal with the white people stuff. So I'm like, man, all right. So I just told him like, no, he didn't do nothing. So he never got anything. Nothing ever happened after that. For that, he moved back in. Stuff went back to the way it was. He's just weird, always trying to mess with me in my sleep, or going through the stuff with his sister, getting bullied. all this stuff. So after that,
And that's around what age?
that was 13. 13, because I remember I was 13, got 13 stitches, so that's how I remembered it. And yeah, I still got the little scar, like the little area. It's balls right there. It's not too huge, but it's there, and I remember like I don't know if you ever remember like That's So Raven, that
Yes.
show. Like she touched something and it goes back. I had one of those experiences with a hammer before. Like it was a hammer in a closet. And I remember I had like a guy, like a boyfriend, and I kept some hats up there, and I was about to give him one. So I'm not even thinking about a hammer or nothing. I'm like reaching for my Cavaliers hat, and I touched the hammer, and all of a sudden, it just like it took me back, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like it was literally, I was, I was like, because I didn't even know a hammer was like in the back of the top shelf. I'm just digging around for like a hat, and then
Mhm.
it like took me back. So yeah. But
This
let's
is
see.
some, heavy
Yeah,
stuff here, and you,
yeah,
you're obviously going through what you're going through and so forth. If you don't mind, taking us back. You said you lost your virginity at 12 years of age. Was it something that you decided that you wanted to do and continued on from there, or?
no, no. I didn't do it again for like a good, probably a good 3 years, and it was
Mhm.
yeah, it was with somebody I trusted and knew well, like was brought up well around my age,
Mhm.
but. From there, I didn't like it because I was like, it's nothing like she was saying. Like, I was
Mhm.
trying to figure out what she was talking about. And and it was with a guy that was like 18. And I'm just trying to like at this point I'm just saying stuff that's like coming from these books that we was reading. So I'm like I'm just trying to sound like whatever I was reading and he was just like, "Yeah, I want you to do all that to me." And I'm like, "Okay." And then when I was there it was like he was disappointed cuz I wasn't doing none of that. It was just like I don't know what is going on here, but I did not like it. And I felt weird like afterwards I was like I just didn't feel like myself. Like I still at that point didn't even realize I had lost my virginity. I didn't even know that's what I was doing. I was just doing it. And later on I figured it out. I think like the more I told people that I did it, it was telling me and I was like it stuff started to click. Like I'm like, "Oh, okay. This is how you make babies." I'm like, "Okay, now I know." And yeah. So I didn't do it
And
again for a long time.
then from that point on now, what was your mindset or concept about it going forward? As you said, you got, I guess, a boyfriend and so forth. Because I know a lot of times, um, some, you know, women or girls turn into a woman, I'm saying they become that 304. You know what I'm saying? They go around the way. You hear me now, but
Yeah, it no, I could have went that way. But I mean, I was like promiscuous at some point in my life, but that didn't happen until like later. But I had a best friend who was a guy. Like he was another person like I could console in and like I can call and we could stay on the phone with all night. Like and he was real sweet like me. Like he was like the real me. Like
Mhm.
and our birthday was like a day apart. And I remember his mom being real sweet and stuff like that, so I could see where he got it from. So because he was a really good listener, and then I ended up falling in love with him. We just did a lot of stuff together. So then it just happened organically, probably how it should have happened in the first place. So that's how I ended up doing like going through it again because I didn't see myself ever doing it again. I'm like, I don't see what was the hype. Like, where
Yeah.
was the hype that you was all this stuff you was trying to tell me? It was like And then I couldn't even imagine doing it from the backside, like how she was explaining. I was like, nah, I couldn't. I was like, nah, I ain't doing all that. But I was, especially after I figured out it wasn't like what she was explaining. I was like, mm. Like I'm like, no, I ain't going. I don't want nobody touching me no more. But then I kept letting people touch me, like my breast, but I wasn't letting people like
And
touch me down there.
when you got to that point of letting, how, like, when you were going through all that you were going through with that, because it's so crazy. The previous podcast we're talking about the importance of a man, and don't worry, sisters, I'm gonna be getting some, for y'all too from sisters only. Like, were you really feeling that neglect of a father throughout that entire,
Oh
you know,
yeah, oh yes, because when like it was that point in time where foster care was on the table, like before they actually really gave the rights over to my friend mom. I would like write letters and pray God to my dad. Like, Dad, this is your opportunity to get me. I'm homeless. I don't have nowhere to go. Got kicked out. Like 13 writing these letters, 12 writing these letters. I never got any response. So I'm like, I would write him letters and I would be like, I guess just asking him. But I would give it to the social workers. And then I'd be like, okay, well, maybe the social worker couldn't find him. But I would like mail it to my grandma's house. So her address was so easy to remember. I still remember it to this day. So easy to remember. So, um, and that's what they do. Usually they do that. They like, they try to get you to the family members first before you go to like a friend or a stranger. Um, but no, I never got a response ever.
very, 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 very sorry that you had to go through that. That's tough.
Yeah. So yeah. Um. So after that incident, he went free. He kept doing stuff to go back to jail anyway. And at the time he was claiming like a GD. I was their family was well affiliated with Bloods. So I was really like turning my blood affiliation up. And then we started forming cliques. Like even like girl cliques in between the Bloods. Like we all Bloods, but we started having our own cliques and we was all still beefing even though we was all supposed to be Bloods. It was crazy, but I had kept trying to prove myself there, and then I ended up being like on the front line because I'm obviously the one who willing to fight, willing to try to prove herself, the one wanting to beat somebody up, so they know I'm you know not the one to fight, and so I ended up fighting a lot of my friends' battles for them. Like a lot of the time, fights wasn't even like because of me. It was because I was out here with these people. Like I come home from school and then now I gotta go fight. Or like I was fighting in school, but it wasn't as much as I was fighting like because of this like fake gang stuff. But so after that, we ended up moving out of the grandma's house, the mom, the friend, and me. And we moved into like a different house and she had graduated. The mom graduated from college and she had started working and got like a nice job. And so everything was good. And then the brother got out of jail. And so they kicked me out of my room and made me go in the basement, like the same situation as before, but this time the bed is like a bedroom, half living room. There's like no divider. The couch is basically the divider, and the dresser is like behind the couch. And so you can see the bed from the couch. You can see the couch from the bed. And so I would sleep on the couch now. So now it was like everybody had access to me. Like whoever came in the house, like, because a lot of their friends was getting out of jail, like these gang members. And then they'll come and kiss me in my sleep. And then I'll be like, I'm starting to like, get tougher.
Mm.
So I'm like, what is you doing? And they're like, oh, I thought you wanted it. I thought you wanted it. And I'm like, dude, like, you think I want your cigarette funky breath on me while I'm asleep? Like, what made you think I wanted that? Huh? Me sleep here on the couch? Um, I remember one time, like, the mom, like, she went back on drugs after cleaning up her life, getting a college degree. She met this man, one of the dudes they bought around. He got on drugs, and he started, like, I don't know if he was abusing her or what, but we was just tired. Like, I was backing my friend up because we was starting to get a little bit, like, our bond was starting to change a little bit when we got to the new house. And I think she had finally got used to me being there, after what, like 2 years. Um, and so one day we literally fought the man, like we took turns punching him because they'll grab us. So whenever us got one of us loose, we would run up on him and punch him and throw a punch on him. And he wanted to fight back, but he didn't. And I think that one time, like, one of us threw like a bottle or something at him, and then that's when they ended it. But then now she like going out her way to go see him. Like, we like, girl, like we got to figure out how to get him going. So we got through that together, and then the the brother came home, and I remember the sister wasn't there at the time, but I was playing like sports. I was in volleyball and softball, and I remember this one day, she was off that stuff, and back on that stuff, and he was like, I guess he went back on the run, and I had got ready. I was like, I think he came. No, no, no. He came back. He came back. He was there at this time. I had a volleyball tournament. I had a friend that lived like you can go out the alley and go like a couple houses down. So I was going to her house a lot to like escape. And I was getting my ready for my volleyball tournament because I'll be really excited for that because that means I'm outside of school. I might get a little practice and then I'm gone all day. So I'm not coming home till 9. So I'm gone from like 7 to 9. So I'm excited. I'll sleep in my volleyball clothes. That's how excited I'll be. So I only have to get up and put some sweatpants on and go. So I'm like sleep like that. And all of a sudden I see like a pillow coming over my head. And I'm like, what the heck is you doing? So I sit up and I'm like, dude, what is you doing? And then he go and run behind that couch that's like where the dresser was. He ran behind the couch and I sit up. I'm like, dude, I can still see you. Like, what are you gonna wait till I go back to sleep and then smother me to death? And he just don't say nothing. He just sitting there like this with a pillow. Like on some weird stuff. And so I didn't sleep the rest of the day. Like I'm not about to go in the shower. I'm not about I don't even think I brushed my teeth. I just sat up and just was like contemplating on my escape. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, I am leaving this house after my tournament. And I didn't tell nobody but my friend that lived down the block because like I'm like, I'm coming to your house after my volleyball tournament. I'm funky, musty, and all. So I got dropped off by my friend, and he was sitting in there with another dude, and and then the mom was in there and she was like asking me where was her keys. And I'm like, how do I know where your keys is? I've been gone all day. What do you mean? Like, ask him. He's sitting right next to you. He probably got your keys. And I was going to tell her, but she was high. So I'm like, I'm about to just leave. And she was like, where you think you're going? She was like, get back here. You're going over to your grandma's house, talking to me like that, da 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 da. And I go down and I like threw my brush on the counter, and that's what triggered her to like get up and like run after me. And she grabbed the spoon and came downstairs and was like yelling in my face on the phone with her mom, like, yeah, she over here doing this, this, and this and that. And I'm like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm out of here. Like, I can't stay here and deal with this no more. I'm gone. And then she go back upstairs. I packed me a little bag and I come upstairs with like my bag. And I see him, he like ran out the door. I'm like, that's who got your keys, you know? So she's like, where are you
And that's
going?
the man. That's the man she was with.
No, this is the brother. This
The
is the
brother. Oh, okay, okay.
this is the boy that's close to my age who was living there,
Hmm.
who they made me give my room up for when he got
Yeah,
out of jail.
yeah.
And so he had a friend there. And she had grabbed my hair and was like, you're not going anywhere. And so I turned around and I like started pushing her shoulders to like and like walking her to the couch. And I like got on top of her and set her down. And I'm like, if you don't let my hair go, I'm about to punch you dead in your face. And then the guy that was standing behind her was like, let her go, Niecy, let her go. And then I'm like, no, tell her to let me go. I'm like, I don't even have her. Like, I'm just ready to hit her.
Yeah.
And then she had already called the police from her son messing with her. So the police was already on the way. And they walk in and seeing me on top of her. So they think I'm danger. So they pull out the taser and that's what I was like, I let go. I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm calm. Like I'm like, y'all not here for me. Y'all here for dude that already left. And then she was like, take her to my she was telling her where to take me. And like at this point I was gonna tell her that her son had raped me and his friend that was there. I was gonna tell her that
Wait,
he
wait, wait, wait.
did.
You got raped in there too?
Yes. Yeah. Um, I was
So,
gonna tell her.
so sorry, but no, wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Um, when I was 15, like when, cause we'd go,
And you don't have to talk about it if you don't. I know it
yeah,
can become uncomfortable and so forth. You
yeah,
absolutely do not have to if you don't want.
yeah.
I
But
know you said something before of the same thing happened in the house, rape and everything. I'm like, rape, I was, thinking she got raped and then, hearing your confirmation of it. Wow.
yeah, she wasn't. Cause and she wasn't gonna do it anyway. And it was the first time I had like mixed two different liquors, and I was 15. And that was the day he decided, because I passed out. This was the first time I ever passed out. And him and the same boy that was there that day, um, took advantage of me, left me there, and yeah. And so after that, like I had to again pretend nothing ever happened, and I barely knew what was happening anyway because I was passed out. But I remember how I woke up and stuff like that. And so yeah, back to that. So they took me to the grandma's house. They called all their family. They was coming to fight me. And I had called at this time I was dating like this drug dealer who was like 18. I think I was 14 at this time. And 14 or 15, I wanna say. And I'm like telling like, dude, you need to come rescue me. But it was like a secret relationship. He didn't want everybody to know that we was dealing with each other because I was young. And so I'm like, dude, you gonna have to come down the block or something, like just so you could give me a ride. And so when they pulled up, the police had pulled up. And then I told the grandma, like, I was like, look, I'm scared to go out there. They finna like beat me up for no reason. The police outside. Like, I don't wanna go outside. Um, so I went outside and like the family members that was there to fight me, they was just staying in the car because the police was there. And the police was handcuffing me and was about to go take me to jail because they was filing domestic violence charges on me. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I never did anything. And I'm like, go look at her face. Like, I'm telling the police, I was like, go look at her. She's high. Her pupils are dilated. She can't even talk right. I'm like, just go and talk to her, and you will understand that I'm telling you the truth. And so when they finally did, like, I'm in the cop car, handcuffed, and I can see them going to the porch talking to her, and they started like flashing their lights in her face. I'm like, yes, they're checking her pupils, yes. And when they get back in the car, And I'm like begging him, like, please don't take me to jail, because I've never wanted to go to jail. I've never been to jail. I've always been scared to go to jail. I'm like, please don't take me to jail, like anywhere but jail. And so it was like, okay, we're gonna take you to a shelter. I'm like, cool, I can deal with that. Took me to a shelter. I ran from the shelter, and I started to go stay with my friends and stuff. And then I ended up going to foster care. And then from foster care, um, I mean, I dealt with the share of pedophiles trying to touch me, but I was standing up for myself at that point in time. I tell the social worker, like, look, y'all put me in the house with a pedophile. I gotta go. I don't care if I've only been here for a week. I don't care. But it's time to find another house. So then I finally started to find better houses, or like I'll go stay with friends, and then until they get tired of me using up all their resources or using their time with their mom, like I go stay somewhere else. And then I was like, you know what, I don't think I'm gonna just get emancipated where you could go live on your own as like a teenager. So I was thinking about getting emancipated. But then my mom got out, and then she got her own apartment. So I'm like, cool, I'm gonna just go stay with my mom. And she got on Section 8, and everything was good. And then she started going back to her phases. And then she was like one time, for example, she was cooking, and like she has like corn and onions, and it has like a distinct smell when it's left in the refrigerator without a top. It's funky. And I was like sleep on the floor, and I remember she opened the refrigerator up, and I got a whiff of it, and I threw up because I'm sensitive to smells. And but honestly, this sticks with her to this day because she still was swears by this. But so she just assumed that I was pregnant, and I'm like, no, I've never been pregnant. And when a baby never came out, she just told everybody I aborted it. Like she couldn't just handle the fact that her corn stunk in the refrigerator. Like she was like, I'm like,
Mm.
I'm like, it was your corn, bro. Like it was funky, and you didn't put a top on it. Like that stink. And I tried to tell her, I'm like, Dennis is the same way. Like he throw up at sight of things. Like, but anyway, so then she started telling me I was the devil. I think she was seeing UFOs outside or something like that. And then she called the people, and I was like calling my sisters and stuff, and it was like, yeah, that's basically what we've been going through all these years. Now you see. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know y'all was going on through this. I'm calling it for help. I'm like, well, okay, what should I do? And then so she ended up leaving, but then they ended up transferring the Section 8 over to me. So now this was my house. Um,
At what
and
age?
I was like 17.
17 at that time. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like 17, going on 18. I think I had finished school, like high school. I was 17 when I finished high school, but I was only a month away from being 18. And so then after that, like, and then one of my sisters, like, she was like, um, really in the streets, like, and she was just doing weird stuff at that house, like breaking in it and stuff like that, because she had lived there before me too with my mom. And so then after that, I'm like, look, I'm leaving. I'm gonna take this Section 8, and I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna go to a suburb. So I moved to a suburb because I ain't never want to live in the area where we was living. It was a bad area. Um, so I moved there, and then my sister begged to come live there. And then I was going to end the lease and move to Georgia. And so I signed it I signed another lease in my name, but then I let her live there. And she was only supposed to pay $200 a month, but she ended up not even doing that. And so I ended up getting an eviction. And in Georgia, I just went on a whim. I went on Craigslist, found some roommates. And yeah, I didn't know anybody. I had my oldest sister moved to Georgia, like through the midst of all this. She moved there, but she didn't want nothing to deal with me. She didn't want me in her house. I think I told her I was trying to be a stripper. I was like, I'm about to do this, this, and that. Even though it was never in my heart. I don't have that type of boldness in my life. But I'm like, this is what's popping. And so when I went down there, I'm like, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. I had visited the strip clubs. I was like, mm-mm, mm-mm. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But she didn't know I want to do it. She just didn't care anyway. Like I told her that she never answered the phone again, even though her little sister is in Georgia for the first time. Don't have nobody. She didn't care. But my roommates, thank God, was like normal people. So I
Finally.
will, yes, it was yes, finally. And it was like a couple, and then it was a woman. She was a truck driver, so she was barely there. And it was just me trying to find myself. So she was a dancer at the clubs, but she wasn't like a stripper. She was like one of them go-go dancers that be like in the sky, like dancing.
Well, I don't know. Just gonna put that out there.
Like a balcony. Like you ever see, well, you probably don't know, and that's a good thing.
I've seen, not in like, I've seen weddings that they have like floating angels and type of stuff. Is it something like that in a strip club, or
Well, it's like, well, no, it was like the regular clubs and like a balcony where like it's enough room for one person to dance on. Like
me
they'll
nah
have
know
like,
me
that's
nah
good.
know.
That's a flex. That's a good
I
thing.
don't know about that. I don't know. Thank God though. Thank God, but
Thank
I don't know
God.
about that.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Yes. So she was one of them there, so she could have clothes on and stuff. And like she had to have moves because it was she was an employee there, so she had it still had to like look good for the club. But she knew the owner. So I ended up talking to the owner. She was like, this who you need to be talking to. This who you need to be talking to. And I just walk up to him and then introduce myself. And for some reason they like that. And but I look at myself because I'm like, I'm not dressed like everybody. I don't have like the stuff that everybody have. I would be like in a lettersman jacket. Like half my hair was shaved. And I would just let it go up to somebody and just start talking to them. And they didn't care. It's like so we started like um so I started going to a club by myself because now I'm linked in with the owner of these clubs. And but then I would get tired. I started sleeping in the club because they was clubbing till like 5 a.m. I'm like, dang, like our club's close at 2.
Yeah.
Like I'd be sleep on the couch waiting. So I'm like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. But then I end up started talking to like actors and stuff, and then I end up getting on like this little show they had, um, which I ain't gonna say what it is because I don't want nobody going on there looking for me. But I was on this show. It was like a music show, and I was like one of the feature dancers. And I had found them by this like production company, man. And man, this was the time where you could just go and do stuff like that and get linked in and connected in. But I had got tired of taking their buses because their buses broke down a lot. So I started hitchhiking rides, getting in rides with strangers, which was not right. Um and but I would run into cops. I was off duty. I was running into like celebrities that I didn't even know was celebrities. Like a guy from like dang, what is that radio station? I don't remember the radio station name right now, but it's a big one. It's one with Ricky Smiley. One of the people on his show like scooped me up one day. And like I would go to like these meetups to go play volleyball in the park at the park and other stuff, but my money started to run out. So I had to get like all these other jobs, but you really needed a car. And I was the guy that was supposed to save me at that other house, he went to prison and I was like writing him for like 5 years and he had um a a particular old school car and I'm like, we need to sell this car. Like we both could have money. And then but he didn't know I was messing with dudes at that time because I was done with him, but he wasn't done with me. So I was like, dude, like I'm moving to Georgia. He didn't like it. He was like, I don't want you moving to Georgia. You moving around dudes. Da 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 da. I'm like, dude, I can't do this no more. But then I kept trying every now and then. I'll try with him. So then when I wasn't with nobody, I talked to him and I'm like, look, we need to sell this car. He didn't want to do it. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with you now. I'm done because now you're not thinking smart. Like,
Mhm.
this people I'm showing people the pictures of the car. They was willing to transfer the car down there on their own dime and everything. I mean, he had a nice Cutlass Supreme rims, decked out, was white and red interior. It was so nice. I'm like, dude, the rims alone is worth $4,000. And his mom ended up selling it for like 2 or 3 grand. And I'm like, exactly. I mean, even if we wasn't gonna deal with each other no more, at least you could have got a good 10 because I would need to at least I wouldn't have to keep some of that. But or shoot, I mean 5, you 7. But anyways, so the guy that owned the house, he was liking me too. So I ended up like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him. He was married, so I only would let him take me to dinner. And then I started talking to the guy from the show a little bit more. Now he wanna deal with me and pick me up and stuff like that. So he thought he was my boyfriend. I wasn't really thinking he was my boyfriend, but I was willing to let him think that and just deal with him. But then I told him, I was like, look, I gotta go back to Minnesota because I need to be on my own. Like I'm an independent person. Like I don't like depending on nobody. And I seen what women was doing for men, and that wasn't me. Even though I had went through all that stuff, I didn't like it. So I'm like, I couldn't see myself just going through stuff just to be fed or taken care of. I'm like, no, you're not gonna put your hands on me. I'm not sleeping next to nobody that's gonna put their hands on me. I'm not doing all the stuff that these women was willing to do. I'm not willing to do it. You're not about to pin me out, none of that. But he wasn't seeming like that, but I gained trust issues. So I'm like, I need my own. And so I went back to Minnesota. He was like, let me know when you're ready to come back. I'll buy you a ticket. Um, and he did hit me up. Like 3 months later, he was like, is you ready? And I had already found my baby's dad. So I was like, I didn't even respond.
Hey, you said you found who?
My baby dad. So I had met my baby dad when I moved back up here.
So you had a kid before going to Georgia or
No,
after?
no. It's just he my baby dad now. But this was
Oh,
before I
okay,
had
okay, before.
kids.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm like, whoa,
No,
where did it came
no,
from?
no, no. No. So yeah, I met him when I came back because I went to like one of my old jobs and because they hired me right away. Um and then he walked in and that's how I met him. And I was living with my one of my best friends, but it was one of them scenarios when you move in, y'all don't become friends, y'all not friends no more. And I was watching her, man, beat her up, and me and him almost fought because I'm like, look, this is the last day you're gonna put your hands on her. Now you gotta fight me in the yard. Let's go. And then their parents pulled up and they was mad at me. They're like, you need to stand on your business and you need to leave. I promise you, I was like, yo, this can't like she was mad at me. Like they would literally go to the park. It was like the park was literally right there at a dead end, like or whatever. And they'll come back. Like her shirt would be ripped up, boob is out, black eye. I never seen my friend like this. We was friends for like 13 years before I actually moved to her house. So I'm like, bro, like you getting whoops. Like and I'm like, So after that, that's when I ended up. I don't even know what I was doing. I ended up moving back with. I ended up moving with, sorry, a sister. And then and she was married, and I met my baby dad, and we went out a lot, and he was supposed to be single and whatever, but he wasn't. Later on, found out that he was married, and I had to go through his phone to find that out. Like I knew his password. Um, I
So
even had
how long were y'all dating to say before you found out he was married?
oh my gosh, not even long. It was like 3 months. Like
Okay,
three
3 months.
months before I even got pregnant. I got pregnant like right away with him.
Oh,
And he he would take me on his jobs. Like he was a construction worker. So I started working with him and like doing all of these like jobs. Like he was making good money. So he was giving me a lot of good money. Like my he was matching my checks basically where I was working. So I started looking for other jobs when I got pregnant because it was I worked with him even on construction until I was like 5 months. Um, but I had we was always going to like hotels, and I wasn't I was still naive. Like I was building wisdom, but I was still naive to a lot of stuff. Like where I could see
how old were you during that time?
I was like 20,
20. Wow.
20. So when I'm and so I'm like smarter, but I'm not. I still don't have the knowledge that I need to know. Like how to avoid
Of
these type
course,
of
yes.
situations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people blames me and call me a hoe and stuff like that. And I'm like, how? Like I'm with with one guy, and he the one who stepped outside his marriage. And apparently, when I found out later on, he had did it so many times. I'm like why ain't nobody trying to stop him? But I had went to school with his daughters, and or with one of his daughter, and they was like assuming I should have known. And I'm
So
like,
how old was he?
he's told me he was 38, but I had Googled him and he was 47. So he had lied his age and everything.
So
So that's
pretty much
why
he had daughters your age.
older than me, like kids older than me, and he probably got like a total like he got a lot of kids. We put it like that, and he got a lot of kids. Um, but he got like six alone, and then he had like some other kids out of wedlock, and then I got his youngest kids. Um,
Oh, you have more than
but
one kid with him?
yes, um, so we ended up having a kid, and it was a point in time where I was homeless again, but I had a good job. I was working for what was good enough to support my hotels. I was working for Wells Fargo and like the backside of things, and all my checks went to like hotels. But he introduced me to one of his relatives who lived in Texas, and then I ended up um like using her discount sometime to afford these rooms. Like we'll get like suites, but then I'd have to pack up all this stuff, and I would contact him for money sometimes, and I had to like do it with him in order to get the money to feed our kid. So that's how we end up getting the second kid. And so after that, I was like, dude, I'm not doing it with you no more. Like it is what it is. So after I conceived my child, which I honestly I felt pregnant right then and there. I'm like, I think he got me. And I had her, and then I didn't deal with nobody. I didn't deal with him. I didn't deal with nobody. And I was even telling the doctors that, and they still was like not believing me. I kept telling them I was like having like pain, and they kept texting me for like STDs. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm not having intercourse, so it can't be STDs. Like the doctors didn't even want to like figure out where my pain was coming from. I'm like, dude, I'm not dealing with nobody. Like he didn't even see his daughter till she was like 18 months. Like he was in and out a lot. But anyway, so after that, I had my kids. I finally getting like on my feet, and I had joined this program, and it was for single moms going to school. So I always tried to like dodge going to school because I wanted to be a lawyer, and I'm like, but I don't want to go through all that schooling. So I went to hair school. I went to business school. I tried to do everything to avoid going there. I'm like, okay, I really like investigating and helping people, so I'm gonna just try it. But I wanted to do like an associate's first, so I went there. And then they had their own daycare, but this was when I was pregnant with the second child and I had the first kid. And they was had their own daycare. They had the building where the apartments can like you live in the apartments. The offices are on the floor with the child care. And I was fast tracked it in the program because you have to go through a lot. But since I was homeless, they fast tracked me in there, and I would go to their little mandatory meetings that you had to have to pass to get through there. So I put my kid in the daycare, and I don't know, something that day just felt off when I was driving around with my cousin. Like he just was mad all day. I'm like, why you keep trying to fight somebody? And then I went in and picked up my kid, and he had like this black thing on his nose. And I asked the teacher, who's this like tall white dude. Like he was weird. He wore like a Hello Kitty sweater all the time, black nails, just walked around looking weird. And I'm asking him like, what happened to his nose? He was like, oh, I squeezed his nose and I didn't realize how strong I was, but I squeezed it. And I'm like, what? So I took my son in the classroom because they was in like a little gym playing area. So I took them to the classroom and I got like a wet paper towel because I'm thinking like maybe he put marker on his nose. I'm like, because I couldn't picture a teacher squeezing some kid's nose until it
Mhm.
turned black or
Mhm.
blue. So I wiped it and it didn't come off. And I'm like, Jackson, what happened to your nose? And he was like, he squeezed my nose. And I'm like, was you able to breathe? He was like, I mean, he was like 3 or 4, so I don't think he was understanding everything I was asking. So I went back to the teacher and I'm like, what happened to him? And he was like, I told you already. I squeezed his nose. And I didn't realize how strong I was. I squeezed it. I'm like, so you left a bruise on my kid's nose and you didn't think to tell me? Like, why would you even squeeze his nose? Like, what were you doing? And then I seen the director, but I could feel my stomach was getting so tight from all the stress. I was like, I don't want to kill my baby. I'm so mad where I could steal off this man right now. And then, like, they didn't even barely want to write a report. So I went to the mandated meeting, and then they was kept asking me, why you so mad? And I told them. And they was like mad because they was like thinking I was about to scare all the women that was supposed to come into the program. They're like, well, you're scaring these women. They're not gonna want to put their kid in the childcare. I'm like, well, they shouldn't. If this is what y'all gonna be doing. So when I called the police and they started an investigation, like a lot of women came up to me and was telling me their horror stories about what happened to their kids and why they don't say nothing because they were scared to lose housing. I was already homeless. I didn't care. So I'm like, I don't care if they kick me out. Y'all not about to be like when I had my kids, it turned me my toughness up to a whole nother level. So I'm like, look, I don't care about none of that. Ain't nobody gonna be touching my kids. He was a temporary teacher. They ended up giving him a promotion and making him a permanent teacher after his investigation was over. And then I remember like new people came in and this girl was like asking me when I was fixing her wig or something. She was like, because everybody was knew me by this story. And they were like, oh my gosh. She was like, well, I'm touched by the God and God ain't gonna let nothing happen to my kid. Maybe 2 weeks later, he did it to her kids. She found bruises on his legs. And but she was the only mom that was willing to like fight with me. I'm like, we're better in numbers because they're not gonna listen to me on my own. And this
Mhm.
was around the time George Floyd and all that stuff was going on. So I was already active in like a activist group then and like traveling, protesting and stuff. And but I started to turn my attention towards the daycare. I started like slowly going away from that and was like, no, I need this is where I need to be protesting. Because they'll have like PBS, sponsorships from Vikings, sponsorships from 3M. And I'm like, no, they all need to know what we deal with here, all across the board. How they decide to distribute the resources and everything was just not right. So once she decided she was gonna fight, I told him, I said, look, if they don't fire him after this, after we get the results, this is what's gonna happen. Like, I'm gonna attack this man and I need a getaway driver. And thank God I didn't have to do that because they finally got rid of him. And I'm like, thank the Lord. But I didn't say that then because I wasn't thinking
Yeah.
about God then. But I'm glad I didn't have to put hands on nobody. Um, but yeah, it was a lot. So then after that, I feel like they planned a way to get me out. Like this girl had came out of nowhere, started messaging me stuff. And it's like they knew how to trigger me. And then but they end up triggering like other people. So she ended up getting into like fights with other people. And then when it was my turn, it's almost like they found somebody off the streets to fight me. And then I kept trying to avoid the fight. I called the police 3 times. I'm like,
And
they
you're
got
pregnant at this time. You're pregnant still.
well, no, I
Or
wasn't pregnant at this time.
or damn,
And
okay.
so I had my baby, and I told them I'm not putting my baby in that daycare because of that. So I end up, they made me use one of my exemptions to put my kid in a whole nother daycare because I was done after that. I took my kid right out of daycare, but I still have to live in that building amongst them women. And this girl, she picked me up, and she like they came in the room where I was working on my little protest and stuff, and like trying to help, but it was weird because I'm like, y'all just throwing me markers and throwing me boards and like saying, here you go, and like just feeding me stuff. Like, well, I remember he did this, and I remember he had kicked a kid in the back. But I didn't even realize she was talking about a kid. I thought she was talking about a teacher because she was like, yeah, I remember he kicked so and so in the back. But then she name dropped. And I'm like, so and so, that's Shorty's daughter. I'm like, and then she just so happened to be walking past the room. So I stopped her. I said, come in here. I said, did you ever hear this story about your daughter being kicked in the back by the same teacher? She said, no. So she got mad. She was like, why are you just telling me? And like all these people started getting mad at her. And then she turned it back on me because we had like this Facebook group, and it was like I went on there one day. It was like so much stuff, and I'm like, "Whoa, shorty, I'm just that's what you was saying. These is people kids. Like, why are y'all just now saying something now?" And so then, like, I was going to work. A lot of my friends said because you didn't need a job to work, but only like two of us out of that whole building was working because it wasn't mandatory. But I needed my money, and so my friend would like write back on my behalf. And then she ended up fighting the girl and busted her nose. And then she kept trying me. And one day I told her, I said, do you want to fight? She didn't want to fight. So I left it alone. Then after that, she got people on me. And it was her boyfriend, her dog, and like just a bunch of linebacking looking people ready to fight me. And then I kept trying not to fight her. The girl kept on antagonizing me. So I said, okay, here we go. Fought her. The police never came. But then when she called the police pulled up right away. But I had gotten my getaway car and gone. I always got a getaway car. I'd be out of there. So after we fought, they ended up pressing charges on me. They didn't care about my story. They didn't care about whatever. They didn't care about none of that. Whatever. So it made it hard for me to get a place. What she told me that before, she said, I'm about to make it hard for you to get a place. I'm about to get you a record. I'm about to do all this. And it worked. But anyway, I ended up moving. Um, I'm back with my sister, and I got my own place. And then, like, I just started focusing on me. I did eventually graduate with out of college, and then but I didn't go that route. I started doing other stuff like bus driving, all type of things. Um, but my kids went to school, and then COVID hit. I guess before I left, right before I left, COVID hit. All of that was going through COVID, and I remember like the governor and Jill Biden was like coming to Minnesota, and they was using me to like help with the funding for daycare because I'm like, no. I'm like, y'all are not shutting daycare down because it's COVID. And on top of that, like all the stuff that I went through, I'm not about to go through handing my kids off to stranger because there's no daycare center to hand my kids to. I'm like, absolutely not. Call whoever you need to call. But when I'm no, no. Like y'all get paid to stay open. So they did. And they started putting me on the news. And then they started putting me in these round tables with them to like hear listen to like a mom that's going like going to school, going to work, got kids, single. And so they did end up not shutting down daycare, thank the Lord. So fast forward, like I'm living my life. I end up dating this guy. Um which who I found when I was going out. I ended up talking back to the girl that I used to live with. She ended up apologizing for all the stuff she put me through when I was a kid. She said she didn't realize what I was going through. The guy, he ended up reaching out on Facebook. He tried to apologize a lot, but I didn't really accept his apology until I came into holiness. And then so after that, I move on with my life. I'm going to apartment because all these apartments are not fit for me. I'm just taking what I can get from whatever my sister had put on my record. Now I have to like settle for apartments until I can like show them that I'm a good tenant and keep moving on. And then I like just started like doing my own thing and hanging with like people that believed in like crystals and stuff like that. Then I started believing in that stuff. And I started believing in like meditating and being like your own person. I almost started believing God was a woman. And I just was just like not believing. I'm like, you couldn't tell me nothing about Jesus. I'm like, no, I don't talk about that. I'm like, that's not real. Like the Bible is not real. Like whatever you say, like that's man made. Like they do stuff like that to like try to like manipulate us, like control us, control the people. Like I was like that. And yeah, and I like would like look up angel numbers, um, just doing like stuff, but I was still like depressed. And I remember one time I found myself like almost ready to commit suicide again. And I called the suicide line, and it was just like a nice guy talking to me. And he didn't really talk me out of it, but it was just nice to have somebody to talk to that wasn't biased. And so after that, something happened. Like my sister husband have like two kids outside of her marriage, but they're not married no more. But her oldest stepdaughter was like 18. She lived with my other sister, and they just started talking about me. So I guess they all came up with a lie saying that I did it with her ex husband. And so it went around. It got to my mom. My mom got in on it. She was like, "Yeah, I seen her playing footsies under the table with him." And I'm like, "How you see this? You've been locked up for how long? You never even around." Like, what house was it? She's like, "Oh yeah, that house over there." I'm like, "Why you ain't use the other house where we used to actually play cards? That would have been more
Mm.
believable."
Yeah.
And then so like I had and how I found out, I got a call from my sister, and she was like, "You did this and that." And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. You gonna let me talk?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I don't think my sisters know me, because to know me is to know I wouldn't I don't like girl, I can get somebody. I don't need my sister's man." Hello. So after that, I was just like I fell into like this deeper depression, because I'm like, I'm tired of always ending up in a situation with somebody accusing me
Mhm.
with my body when I don't have no choice, or not a choice, but I have a choice. And not only that, like who I choose, like I'm picky. Like I'm not gonna deal with my family, man. Ill. Like if I had a kid, our kids would be brothers and cousins, and like ill. But if I was, I'm not gonna hide it either. I'm not that type of person to hide it. Like I'm an open book. Like I will share with you what you want to know. Like even before holiness, like I don't feel right with lying. Like it feels weird, and then you got to keep the lie up. It's just annoying. You might as well just tell the truth. So I was like, "Yeah, no, you could have just asked me. I would have told you." So me and my sister got cool again, and then it took a while for the other people who made the lie to apologize. To this day, my mom never apologized. She swore up and down that I did, and she even put it on Jehovah. I was like, "Oh, blasphemy, blasphemy." I was like, "You," I was like, "Oh no." And then that was the first time I called her out her name. I was like, "You like listen to me. Like you are ruining my life." Like I don't think they understood that I was ready to die. And even like the stepdaughter, she was like, "Look, you know why she want to commit suicide? Because it's true." And I'm like, "No, I've already been feeling like that. Y'all just like making me really want to do it now." So my ex, like, we was together for probably like 2 years. Um, he kept sending me these videos, like Minister Darby videos. Um, and I would not listen. He kept on trying to like get me to listen to like Jesus videos. And I'm like, "Dude, stop sending me these sermons. Like, I don't listen to that. I don't believe in that." I was like so like remember I was at work at home, and I was just like so depressed. I just like my phone was like right by the computer. I just listened. And what he was saying, like I started to listen to it. And then me and my ex like would talk and like break videos down. And this was like when I think the eclipse or whatever, eclipse, moon, sun, something was happening. Everybody was saying it was the end of the world. And, so we was talking, and he was like, "Yeah, he the truth," and he was sounding good. So I started to get like my sister on him. I'm like, "Listen to him." And I was still smoking, but I was already planning on stop smoking. I'm like, "Okay, by the age of 30, I'm gonna stop." I'm 32 now. I was like, okay, it was like my kids was even telling me, like, it was like, "We thought you said you was gonna stop smoking," and I'm like, "I'm working on it." And but then when I heard Darby and stuff, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really stop. And then he just kept on preaching, and when he was preaching, it was like some of the stuff I was going through, like talking about how your family will plot on you and do all this stuff. So I kept listening to him, and I was slowly changing, but I was starting to hear voices. So it was telling me to do stuff like confess and like to stuff that I had forgot about. I'm like, why you want me to do that? I'm like, are you trying to ruin me? Like, who is this? And then one day I trusted the spirit or whatever was telling me, and I did it. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm about to be lonely again. So now you got me confessing stuff. But then that person was forgiven right away. And I'm like, okay. But then I kept listening, and then I was like learning about fasting from Darby. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna fast. Because I want to connect to whatever I was missing out on, because I'm starting to feel like maybe I should have been praying to God. Maybe God is real, realer than I thought. Because I was just praying, like I stopped praying to Jehovah even. I would pray, I would say to whoever the guy who's breathes air into my body. Like I wouldn't say Jesus or Jehovah. I say I'm praying to the guy who breathed air into my body. Not realizing I was still kind of praying to God. But
No, it's just based upon what you knew and what you wanted to say during that time.
yeah.
Oh, I never heard that one before.
Yeah. Because I didn't want to put a name on. I'm like, I don't know who God is. But when I was hearing Darby, I started calling Jesus. And then I was like, okay. And because he would kept saying like he would demonstrate kind of like how pastor does, but I didn't get it. So I was like, hmm. And then he would talk about Jehovah's Witness. He would talk about pagan. I like to do my own research. So I'll go and seek and figure out, okay, who's the founder of Jehovah's Witness? This and that. Why is it this? Why is it that? Why do y'all believe this? So I started doing that. And one thing that stuck in my mind, because my mom tried to do Bible study when we did move to Minnesota probably like twice. And I remember her saying, like, you're not supposed to have images of heaven or Jesus. But then we was sitting there with a watchtower with a picture of who's supposed to be Jesus. And I was like maybe 9 or 10. No, yeah, 9 or 10. And I remember thinking like, well, ain't this a picture of Jesus? Like, I remember that. And so fast forward to today or that time, I like I always try to figure out where's the contradictory at. I'm like, because I needed a reason not to listen to this man. But I still loved listening to him. I only listened to him. I got addicted to listening to him. Like my neighbor could hear me listening to him. And so I kept looking for information on Jehovah's Witness. And I even got notes. Like I even look back into it to this day on how my notes kind of like elevated to where I'm at now. And I was writing notes about that. I was wrote notes about Christmas because we already didn't really consistently celebrate Christmas anyway because of growing up Jehovah's Witness and all the stuff behind it. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard, I mean, to drop Christmas, but I needed to know more. Like if somebody asked me, or I need to understand why I'm really not versus whatever world I was in. And so at some point in time, when I did this fake fast, because well, I can't call it fake, but I was still drinking water and I was still arguing with my sisters. But on like day two, I was like, God, what do you want me to read? And I remember seeing a video, and I don't know if it was because Darby was already preaching about it, but I was led to read First Corinthians, and it took me like 4 hours, but I read the whole thing, and and I started to think like, wait a minute, I seen a woman, and I can't remember if it's in Corinthians, but it was something about women that was throwing me off, because I'm like nobody in that church had their head covered, and I'm like maybe I'm not reading it right. I'm like, I need that. I'm gonna need that broke down. So I would go on like Google to break it down. And I think I just got like sidetracked with other things. But something drew my attention to like the women in the church. And I would always stare because he had a woman sitting like his pulpit was just his wife, nobody else. And like something always kept me staring at her every now and then. And I didn't really care for her sermons. Like I remember my ex saying like, "Do you ever listen to her videos?" I'm like, not that much, because her pastor, that preacher had passed away, so it's just his videos now. And I guess she is an evangelist and she preaches now. But I'm like, no, I don't listen to her videos, and I don't know why. I just don't like them. I don't know. I was like, it's just not there. I don't feel the spirit when she talk. And so later on after that, I started digging. It was almost like God was telling me, like, keep going, keep seeking, keep going. So I did. I kept going, but I'm like looking at the Jehovah's Witness stuff, putting two and two together, trying to get my sisters to stop doing Jehovah's Witness stuff too. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm about to see if I could put all of this stuff in the search engine and find a pastor who does everything by the book. Do not celebrate Christmas. Pastor, I'm like putting all of these like a whole paragraph in Google. Like, where can I find a pastor that do this, do that, do this, do that? Of course, nothing pops up. So I'm like, okay, I already knew that anyway. I just put a bunch of stuff in Google. Cause I go on TikTok and I was looking at the videos of Joe Wood and stuff. And then I kept scrolling and I see Pastor Gino, and this was the first time I ever heard his voice, and it was so annoying to me. But he was talking about Christmas, and I'm like, why his voice sound like that? He sounded like he was like from like the old time or something. But I like the old time, so I like the eras of 50s and 60s and stuff like that. So I was like, and I just scrolled past. I kept scrolling, but then something was like, So I go back down. I'm like, I need the whole video. I was like, something he said. It was like everything he said sounded so true. So I go to YouTube and I heard the video. I think it was like the one with the like silver tree with the blue ornaments.
Yes, yes, yes.
I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, he's not Jehovah Witness. I was like, let me make sure he's not Jehovah Witness. Hold on. Let me make sure. And then I was like, okay, he's not Jehovah Witness. I don't know. I still didn't know what he was at that point, but I'm like, he's not Jehovah Witness. And I had a nail kit coming. And when it came, something was like, throw it away. Well, actually, no. Let me back up. Let me back up. So when I watched Gino videos, I couldn't watch Darby anymore, and like my family would be like, "Oh, you don't mess with Darby no more." And I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, I be trying to, I be trying to sound faithful, so I'd be like, "No, I listen to him sometime, I throw him every now and then," but they never heard him again after that. He never came back through the speaker. So, and I kept telling my ex that, and then it made him mad. So now we back to not talking again because he mad that I was talking to G. He like, I'm the one who woke you up. I'm the one who brought you out. Darby the one who woke you up. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like I give God the credit. He just used you. But so I'm listening to Gino. The word is working on me. And then like during that little like that first time period where I'm not so saturated in his videos, I kept hearing the spirit. And I had a nail kit coming. And I remember like other times it did, and I'll beg it like, can I just not? Can I just still be saved and not do what you telling me to do? And it was just like nothing. So that was my interpretation. Like it's saying like, no, you still got to do it. And then it was like something telling me like, have I ever like let you down before? Like the last time I told you to do something, you did it. Then what happened? It was okay. So I had to use that mindset, and I did it, and everything was okay. But then I heard the voice tell me to throw my nail kit away. It was like, throw it away. And I said, who the throw it away? And I'm like, maybe I'm tweaking. Maybe I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like, but the devil wouldn't tell you to throw something like nails away. So anyway, I said, go on about my business, paint my nails. I was like, okay. And I went to go pick up my kids. My nails was burning. And I mean, burning. I'm like, and I had my niece with me, and I'm like, man, something ain't right. And I know I got sensitive nails. I'm like, maybe it's that. But I put a layer of nails over it so it didn't like go through my nails. And it was burning. Like I've never had my nails burn like that before. So I had to hurry up and like take it off. before I went in the daycare. I'm like, I can't even go in there yet until I take this stuff off. So I'm like ripping it off, like, and I'm like, dang, like maybe I should have threw it away. And so I started to listen more, but then I didn't hear it as much because now I'm starting to be obedient. Now I'm like listening to Gino, like, okay, I heard you say something about fingernail polish before. Let me go back to the video where you talk about fingernail polish. Let me go back to the video where you was talking about a head cover. Let me go back to the video where you was talking about skirts and dresses, because I was still not all the way there. But then it was like it drew my attention to it, and I still had it on my toes though. Like I'm like maybe just where he can't see it. And I remember like later on, like I'm like, okay, well, you can't have it on your toes either. So I had started looking up churches, and I saw like first churches around, but it was like a man and a woman. And I Facebooked them, and I'm like, hey, I just need to make sure like this is not like a church where y'all like celebrate these pagan holidays and da 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 da. They see my message, but they never roll back. And then I kept writing these churches down, kept calling them and being like, okay. And I'm like, I'm like, maybe I have to move to Philadelphia. I'm like, maybe I'll just move and just go to their church. But then I called them. I was like, is there a church near me? And then the woman that I got, she was really nice. And she's like, yeah, go to this church. It's going to say True Assembly of Apostolic Faith or something, but it's not that. It's just temporary. Ask them if they have Bibles before you go, so you don't have to buy one. Okay, so I go there with a dress and my head covering, but my toenails are still painted. And it was like everybody was looking at my toes. At least I felt like I'm like, why is everybody looking at my feet? And then I stood up to get baptized. It was Elder Jennings is the minister there, so I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know he was the pastor or the minister, but he was like the closest thing I'm asking. He preached just as hard, so I listened to him. I got baptized, and I had got baptized with them nails, the feet, the toenails, and everybody was looking at them. So I didn't think my baptism went like the way it should have, but I still was trying to like walk in the faith. And I got rid of the toenails. I got rid of more. I got rid of braids. I just kept shedding. Like I didn't worry about what they said at work. Like my friend group at work, like they noticed the change. I started coming to work with a Bible, reading the Bible. I even got into it with a coworker because she came to my desk and she's like, "Oh, find me a girl or find me a woman." I said, "I'll find you a man." I said, "I don't believe in that." And she was like, "Why?" She's like, "Why you wear dresses now? Why you wear this now?" I said, "Because I listen to the word. I'm reading the Bible. You want scripture?" And this was before I knew women couldn't quote scripture. So I'm like, "You want me to go over some scriptures with you?" She started getting mad. She cried. She told the supervisor everything. We had a meeting. And I'm like, I didn't even know it was a problem. She asked me. So um, after that, I was like, I isolated myself. I moved my desk from the area where it was like overpopulated with a lot of people who I used to deal with. Now I'm like in a whole another island over there by myself. And I like it like that. I'm like, I can pray, I can read my Bible, I can avoid listening to people like cussing and talking sinfully. And I just kept doing it, and I started feeling the spirit move on me. Like I started to get quickened, and I thought it was the Holy Spirit, but it wasn't. Later on, the teachers taught me that it wasn't. But I found out how to properly fast, so I started doing properly, and that's when I felt the closer connection. I believe at some point I had a stammering lip, but I called it a stuttering lip. And because I didn't know what it was, I had only read it in the Bible one time. But I'm like, maybe that's what it is. Because of how I was praying, I could feel my belly just being filled. And I thought it was coming. And so I just kept praying. And then all of a sudden, my language was like different a little bit. Like, I don't know. It was like weird. For like a second, I thought I said a word, but then it wasn't like a full on speaking in tongues. So I'm like, okay, gotta keep tarrying. And so I kept going. And now I did get rebaptized though, I'm not gonna lie. I got rebaptized during the Southwest Convention because when I came to this temple, I started talking to somebody here, and then like I just felt like they was influencing me the wrong way. And it made me realize, excuse me, the man in truth can sometimes be worse than the worldly man. Like just getting me to do stuff like in my past, like rubbing on me. And then it was like I knew it was wrong, but I was like, okay, maybe if I just whatever, be with somebody here, then, we get married and then we're not sinning no more. I was in that mind frame. But like I was telling him like we was talking about marriage for a while and then one day he was just like, oh, I wish it wasn't a sin for us to shack up or whatever. But I got mad. I was like, why won't
So
you just work on me?
somebody in truth told you this?
Yeah. And then he got mad at me, gaslighting me, talking about some, well, I wasn't saying it like that. I was joking. And I'm like, how you go from talking about marriage and you were saying all the right things to that? It threw me off. But then I ignored it and I kept on ignoring more stuff. I ignored the fact he didn't even read the bylaws. I'm like, you didn't read in the bylaws where it says that we have to go on a date with like a supervisor or a chaperone. Like you didn't read this and that. And he's like, no, and you been in the truth longer than me. I'm fresh, new. I'm like, I'm
Um,
just, I like I said, like I was just like in it, like
um,
stop watching TV, everything, like so. I'm like, how don't you know this? So I was ignoring all of that, and to the point where slowly but surely we started doing stuff we wasn't supposed to do. Um, and we didn't really like go all the way, but like when we
yeah,
went
but
to the
that's
restaurant,
tough. That's tough for you
yeah,
because it's like
man,
your life was so messed up. You just in terms of what your life created was a messed up person. Not that, you are one, but just your circumstances, the situations with your mom. Here you're getting dressed for Denzel Washington. Here, your father literally put the nail in the coffin by rejecting you at that age, and you go through this house, that house, you got raped. You lost virginity at 12.
hmm
You almost got killed.
hmm
You had to fight like crazy. I mean, and another thing, would you say that you were a certified blood, or you were just like just around them?
I was just around him. I could
Around
have
them.
easily been.
You could have easily been that too.
Yeah, but it wasn't always. I was a sweet girl. I just was
Yeah.
doing stuff to fit in. I was
Exactly.
already sweet.
To
Yeah.
fight back and all that stuff. Yeah, that was just what I'm seeing. And here it is now. You go through all that you go through, see how disgusting these men in the world are.
Mm-hmm.
Filthy. And you come into you hear the teaching, your God gives you an opportunity to hear the man of God. Listen to the teaching. Here you get in the understanding now. It leads you to come to service. Now you come across here's a brother who got baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. Maybe Holy Ghost filled or not. I don't know.
Mm-mm.
And here it's like you're fresh and you're telling him, like, bro, you don't see the bylaws. And then secondly, you get that joke, and it's like, wait, hold on a second here. See, this is why this that's a prime example of what I mean by and it's been preached over the pulpit before. I'm not preaching, just to say I'm just repeating what was said over the pulpit now, where you could literally be a reason why someone leaves the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The fact that you literally had to go through all of what you had to go through in the world, and now I come to what we call God's house to be with God's people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Here now, I'm getting this slipping and sliding joke, which now I come in so fresh, it leads us to do. the rabatam. Y'all didn't go all the way, but
Yeah, but we was the shacking up. It was basically like I go over his house, he go over my house, and like we was crossing lines, and it didn't feel right, and I felt God leave me. I did. I didn't. I stopped getting quickened for a while. I would ignore praying because I'm like, well, I don't want to keep thinking about God if I'm doing this. I'm about to go meet up with this guy. Like I had stopped for a while, and then at some point in time, he kind of broke it, which I'm glad he did. And how he did it, he put it on me, but I allowed him to because I wanted it to stop too. But or like it's like I only would have felt comfortable doing it if we would have was married, but I didn't want it to do it like that. Whatever we was doing, and we was arguing a lot anyway, and I didn't like the gaslighting and the arguing. But when he was saying this stuff, it was more of that, and I was like, well, so who fault are you blaming it on? Well, I blame it on me because I'm the man, and God gave me dominion over women, and I'm like, and all the stuff that like he talked about like was always in the back of my head. Like he don't agree with like a lot of stuff Pastor saying. I don't care if he watches and hears, it's the truth. He said it, and that was always in the back of my mind. Anyways, like you don't agree with how he teaching us women to look for a man, like with the whole money situation, like. And I'm like, I was looking past all of that. I was just ignoring all of that stuff, and then, like when he was saying that, like all of that was going in my back of my mind. But in the way, I still like was caring for him, and I'm like, well, we already like built something, like, and but then after that, I was on the way to Chicago. The where pastor was going to Chicago. He had initiated the breakup that day, and then I just couldn't go straight to sleep. I prayed, and then I prayed when I got to the hotel, and I finally got quickened. And I was like, oh God, thank you. I'm like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need more just to make sure. I'm like, if you're not ready to fill me with the Holy Spirit, that's fine. But just move on me again to let me know that you forgive me for all the stuff that I was doing with him. He kept doing it. And then me and him talked since then. And he was like, I haven't been quickened since you and I. And I'm like, well, I have. I mean, I was like, I think I almost got filled one time. So I was like, you gotta. I didn't want to go into teacher mode, but I'm like,
mhm.
well, some of the stuff you be saying, you be going against them. You be going against the
Uh,
grain, like you be
and this brother, like as you said, he's been there longer than you have. Like we're talking about a good amount of time, or
like,
maybe.
yeah, like I guess he was already like in a falsehood before, and now I can't remember his time. He's been with holiness, but longer
But
than me.
it's not like no 2 3 week thing here. Like he's
No,
been
like
there
maybe 2 years,
2 years and stuff, long enough to know. Wow, well,
maybe. Yeah, that time.
it's a little fresh as well. But that just goes to
Yeah,
show as well.
but
That just
he
goes to
said he
show.
had the bylaws too. He like, yeah, I got the bylaws at home. I'm like, okay, read them. Like, and then I would have to screenshot him and stuff. Like sometimes he didn't even believe it. Like I would go on the website and get the e-version and screenshot it until I had print. And then now I got the a printed copy, and now I got one. But I would screenshot it to him and like he like, oh yeah, it does say that. And I'm like, so what we doing?
Wow. So what kept you from not leaving? I mean, that experience alone would have just been like for many. Whoa, 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 whoa. I thought like what's going on here? Like what kept, because you have something not even, because you were just fresh coming in, all that. Some don't have that strength to say,
Yeah,
well, you know what? Let me just stay. I'm not gonna make this person, make me leave or whatever the case may be. Why not
yeah,
leave? Why not from there you say, well, nah, this I'm out of here. Peace be.
yeah. Um, I was before him. I had a mind frame of seeking the Lord, and when I came there, I was already like I probably watched. more videos than somebody been there 5 years. I was videoed up. So I was like, okay, I'm not about to be in there shopping for no man. I'm not about to be doing this. I'm not about to be doing that. And I was like, I was ready. I was ready to give myself to the Lord. I was already fighting spirits. I was ready for the fight. I was fasting already. So I was like, God, like, I'm not going back to all that stuff. Like, I was happy that he showed me his name. I was happy that he finally was like ready to show me him now that I knew I was seeking. So when I came to church, like I was already like ready to be saved. Like I'm really here to be saved. Like I don't want to go to hell. Like I don't it don't feel comfortable. Like if I was to go back and put on makeup and jeans, that would feel weird. Like that wouldn't be like something I would be like able to just walk down the street and do, and I'm able to say that. It wouldn't feel right to go back and roll up a blunt or fornicate and do all the stuff like intentionally. Like God is looking at you. You being judged, and it's like you want to go to hell. It's like why let something like? And I remember he kept saying like, "Oh, whatever happens, don't backslide." I'm like, dude, you the last thing that would make me backslide. Like it would
Wow.
take a lot. Like it would take the man up there doing stuff to make me, like preaching to you or something like. And then I'd have to like figure it out or lack of knowledge, something like that. But I'm like, dude, I was so determined to hear the truth, to continue. Like I wanted more. I wanted to be fed more, and I was hearing the Holy Ghost. Pastor preaching about the Holy Spirit. So I was finally learning what it was versus when I was a little kid and going to them churches, I used to act like I had it because I didn't know. But now that I knew what it was, I'm like, I want that. I want to be in the kingdom. And then one time I was seeking it to be with him, like for the wrong reasons. And even after that, like I said, like after I didn't like feel nothing no more because I knew something wasn't right, I went back to seeking. Like that's I don't know. That's just me. Like I wouldn't feel right. Once I know better, I'ma do better. That's the
Mm.
type of person I am. So I couldn't see myself knowing what's right, then going doing what's wrong. Or you mean obviously I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm gonna slip up, but I couldn't see me like I've been every Sunday since I've been going to this church. Like I probably missed one because my daughter was sick or I went to a convention. I've been going to church faithfully since I walked in them doors. Like it don't even feel right what day of church service Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and I'm at home chilling, or I'm at a job even. I quit real estate school. I was doing that. I'm like, no, because I go from work to school to my kids and don't have time for myself. How am I gonna have time for the Lord? So I ended real estate school. I'm like, I'm not going until God fills me or until it's he's ready for me because
Things
I
are in
really
order,
want
pretty much.
yeah with
Mm.
the Lord. Like I'm good. I'm eating. He provides for me. I want the Lord. Like that's I'm really hungry and thirsty for his kingdom. So I'm not gonna let anything I might stumble, but I'm not gonna let anything make me backslide.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
This whole text this is wow.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie. Like the devil is in my dreams a lot more than when I was in the world. I've had the worst dreams now than I've ever had. So I'm like, okay, maybe and then when you fellowship, he's like, you gotta be ready for this. So I'm like, maybe God want me to learn patience because when you get the Holy Spirit, what I hear from others is that it gets worse. Like, the devil will attack you more. You hear pastor preaching about it. And it's like, I know I'm not strong enough to deal with, that spirit on a whole nother level. So I want to give it to God. I want to let God know, like, build me up so I'm ready, take away whatever is hindering me, you know, give me the patience, Lord, please, to endure this walk or, to be ready because I know I feel ready, but, you know, sometimes we're ready for stuff and we not. And I don't want to backslide. So I do want it bad, but I'm like, God, please make sure I don't backslide
Yeah.
if I get it. I want to make sure I nourish it when I get it. So yeah.
And one thing I noticed that you said as well, you said you were videoed up. Uh, how important now that, seeing as where you are now and all that you went through and experienced, how important do you see it was now to really be listening and tuning in to the man of God, getting the teaching, hearing the teaching?
Yeah.
How important do you see like like maybe of course then people are watching it, they're interested and it's good. But now that,
Mhm.
you come across what you came across and all that goes on and so forth, how important, because even as you said this brother said you don't agree with some of the things and stuff like that, which is like to get all of that just coming in is crazy. And it just goes to show that not everyone is everyone.
No, yeah.
You know what I'm
True.
saying?
True.
I said this. Don't be fooled by no suit and tie and bow tie, whatever the case is. Don't be
No,
fooled. Don't be fooled by no head covering,
no.
long dress and
Mm-mm.
then skirt and all this and stuff.
Mm-mm.
But here it is. You have to experience that. So how important did you see it was to be videoed up, tuning into the man of God? Uh, uh,
Um, it's important. It is so important that you sit there attentively. Like I feel like if if you're not gonna be able to multitask and listen, don't do it. Like some of the ones that I'm multitasking and doing, I probably already heard it a lot of times, but I'm getting refreshers. But when you really is seeking something, like especially if you coming out of falsehood, put in Gino Jennings and put in your question. I put in sometimes I one time I did Gino Jennings 144,000 to see what was the truth about it. He most likely got a video of what you thinking about, or if you question the Lord, ask the Lord, and sometimes the Lord will bring the video to you. Like I've had that experience where I could just pop up and then the whole message is all the stuff that I was questioning in my head. And when you are sitting there listening, like you have to pause sometimes, you have to rewind sometimes, get it. Because this is the closest, simple, and plain it's gonna get. I haven't been shown anything any different. So if you can't get this, like you need to go back and do some more praying probably and open your understanding more, or I don't know, maybe do a 24-hour fast. Sometimes that helps me. Because he answers your prayers. He does answer your prayers. But if you don't listen to what he's saying, what the ears like you really ready or you really want to learn, then don't listen because you don't want to be charged with something that you hearing and that you're not ready to do. Like you really have to be seeking the Lord to be ready to listen to a man like Pastor because he gonna send them shots from the Bible and you have to be ready to take them and do it. Like the correction is good. Like it's a good thing. Like it's to save your soul. He only here to help save our soul. Like he saved, moreover, he could be doing something so much different.
mhm.
But like this is like a serious thing. Like you have to take this more serious than anything in your life. And it's hard to say it as a mother, but even it's more serious than your kids.
Yeah.
Like your kids gonna grow up one day, they might not even never seek the Lord. Like you have to take this stuff extra serious. Like or like who want to get a taste of hell? Like if you can hear the word and if God can open your understanding up without you having to go through something extra tragic, you are blessed. Some people have to go through the hardest challenges, near death experience before they is understanding is open. And here you are sitting down listening to Gino telling you in plain English, and you still decide not to do it. It's like, like how much time do you think you have? Like, it's like, just do it. Like, it's hard. God knows you're not going to be able to do it overnight. It's a lot of stuff we can't do overnight. Just do it.
And this testimony was something I must say, and you're a very, very strong woman, mentally, and for you to, wow, to have such, straightforward resilience, despite, because I can imagine me, I'm excited. Oh, truth of God, this is the truth of God. And then I get in church, I'm fresher,
Mhm.
and dibbly dabbly, you know what I'm saying? Dabbly dibbly.
Yeah.
And not even just that, get told, yeah, man, I don't agree with everything, Pastor. It's like, wow. Because when I just came in, I'm like, man, we cannot be this crazy, to be in this thing and somebody don't believe this. Like it's here, we found it. Like this is that. You know what I'm saying? The Lord finally sent us somebody, or been sent someone, and I caught on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to come in and to hear, well, nah, like there's something I don't agree. It could have been like, whoa, this is you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you but man, because you were videoed up and you knew what you needed to do. You knew what you were there after. What you were after, and to do it as what we call is a babe. Those that are come. I'm
Yeah.
not calling you babe now. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna clarify it now. But those
Yeah.
that are fresh,
Mm.
in the that come in their babes, newborn babes. There you can get that that milk. That milk. You know what I'm saying? But that situation for yourself was, that was some meaty situations there. And
Yeah.
how, and even though you came in fresh and whatnot, you're even still holding accountability to yourself. I gotta do better. I gotta stop this. It ain't right. This is that. Like, yo, here's the bylaws. Not acting like you don't see what it is. And for sis,
Yeah.
I got this. This was something. This was honestly something. Um, to conclude, sis, when you look back and see all that the Lord has done for thee, how grateful are you to God for Apostle Gino Jennings?
Lord, Lord Jesus. I thank God Almighty for, like you said, he's been here for so long, but I thank him so much for allowing me to hear him with a quickening ear, for hearing him, period, for not having an understanding, but using pastor to interpret his word so I can understand. Like, I just don't even know where I would be. I didn't see myself doing this. I didn't see myself in church faithfully. I'm just so thankful to him, for blessing him with the word, giving him the permission. Gino Jennings being so faithful to being an apostle. I'm just so grateful. God knows. Like, I can't even really put it into words. Like, I see that man face every day of my life. Like, I can't go one day and without listening to him. I can't. Like, it's like, why? Like, you need to listen to this man or whoever is preaching alongside him. Obviously, if he can't be in attendance, but man, God is literally blessing us with knowledge and it's up to us to take that knowledge and be grateful for it and apply it to our lives and just think about how much better your life could be. And think about if it was an apostle that didn't even speak your language or you didn't even understand. Like he gave us at least people that understand English. He gave you an English speaking apostle.
Yes.
That is what I am grateful for. That I didn't have to go get a translator, go do this, go do that. Like you got somebody breaking it down, plain English, willing to answer your questions, travels everywhere so everybody can hear all over the world. Like we are literally blessed and gifted by the Lord for having that ability. And it's up to us to share it. It's up to us to treat others with the teachings that we are being taught and fed. This is the daily bread that God speaks about. Like, eat it up, get your belly full. Because it's going to be a point in time we're not going to have an apostle, we're not going to have him to teach us this stuff, you know? And I pray I'm not one of them people. No, no, no.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, that, very, very tough testimony. Very beautiful one. Resilient one. Like you were such a person that came from such a messed up situation, messed up life. I can imagine my mom, literally saying, "Hey, you guys, Denzel's coming. We get dressed up and all this." And of course, you believe it at that point in time and that age that you're at. And then
yeah,
you have to grow up to realize, okay, my mom is tripping. She has some mental health problems, in and out of jail, or crazy homes, or hospitals and so forth.
yeah,
Oh shoot, my dad is here. Let me go see my dad. Let me go see what's up. All right, dad, I'll get some hot Cheetos and grapes. And not only that, you're gonna show me all these kids. Like he could have had the opportunity to say, "Come, honey, let's talk. Look, I truly don't believe I am your biological father, but hey, let's go get a DNA. It was something." Because I wouldn't want, even though I know I'm 99% sure I'm not your biological father, honey, or darling,
mm,
or sweetie cups, whatever they do it in Minnesota, or kitty, or whatever. And say, look, I wouldn't want no kid to, be out here not knowing who their father is. So maybe this could give, comfort for the both of us. Something.
yeah.
But you just deuces.
And you know what's crazy? When I had
Mm,
my son, I went seeking him, or 18 or something like that. I would look him up every now and then. And I did. And I found some information on him. And then I got back in touch with my grandma, and she told me he passed away from AIDS. And he was
oh,
gay. Told me he
your
had a boyfriend.
your dad.
That's what I was told. That's what I was told. So I was like,
So,
okay.
so you don't really know.
I don't
Like, is
really
it?
know.
Did you?
But this,
Where did they bury him? Did you? I mean, I would go and make sure and see for my own self. You know.
right, because I didn't see an obituary. You're right. But yeah, it was like, I guess I was too late, 2 years too late. Um, but you're right. I probably should go see a burial. Like, no,
Yes, you know what I'm
let me
saying?
see
Like,
some paper.
oh, what you talking about? Just like that,
Nah,
Mister.
for
You know what I'm
real.
saying?
Hey, if she called, tell her I'm dead, son. Like, no, yeah, I probably should. But yeah, that's what I was told. But I was told that by a couple other ones. Like the girl that I met, the cousin that I met, she grew up. She found me and her talked too, and she told me that he passed too. So, and then I guess I did speak to his dad, but he wasn't doing too good. His dad was a pastor too, which is crazy. He used to have a church. I remember she brought me there one time, but yeah, he was never there. Never.
That
Mm-mm.
I mean, That's something. That's not. I don't know. That's something. Still tough because it's like I've never met a kid who really just wouldn't want to have that experience to at least get to know,
Um,
of course, mom and dad and so
yeah,
forth. And before I even conclude, maybe this could be like a preview for sisters talk and so forth. How important is a man, a godly man now? That all that you've been through, all that you went through,
yeah.
how important is it to truly have a godly man in one's life?
You really want somebody that's not gonna interfere with your walk. You want somebody that loves God more than he loves himself. That's what I'm seeking. Or just wait for God to show you who.
When I say
who
godly man, I'm not talking about like in terms of marriage or anything of that sort, but
oh,
but no, but more so, like father figure
oh,
type of vibe.
praise the Lord.
You know.
A godly man as a father figure. Well, it's very
And
important.
the reason why I say godly is because, of course, it's important to have a man, the importance
Yeah,
of a man, right? But, that man could cater different advice that's not according to scripture and all that type of stuff, or
yeah.
function in a certain way that's not according to scripture. So now that you didn't have it at all, and you come across the teachings and, you start to see, some left and right and whatnot, what's the importance of a man, importance of a godly one?
Yeah, it's very important, especially if you lack in that fatherly figure. You want, like, it's not, it's going to be hard to tell who really has your best interests at heart. So to have somebody that's godly, um, who is, living the way God wants him to live. That way, he knows how to treat you as a woman or a son figure or a daughter figure. Like pastor, for example, like I think of him sometimes. I'm like, man, even though I didn't have my dad, if I would have been listening to pastor, I would have had some fatherly advice that I never had, and it would have impacted my life, and I would have been able to create boundaries, and I would have been able to set my standards higher, even though I might not have, you know, been, in a spot where I should have been thinking about a man. um he would have been, teaching me what to look for at the time where I probably was ready, versus just going off of whatever was out there in the world, who don't care about you. They want to use you. They don't care about you being saved or what happens next after you die. Like, with you want to be under somebody's teaching, or fatherhood, who has your whole best interest at heart, who's not only thinking about your financials. He's literally teaching us how to live right in a natural realm and a spiritual realm. Like, if you have a natural dad that is doing that in your household, you need to follow that in and listen and take all of that in, because they only looking out what's best for you. So you may not see it right then that this parent is tough on me because of this X, Y, and Z. But then later, you're going to realize that they're preparing you for something that they knew you were going to go through. And now you going in with a different mindset, and more wiser. Now you can handle the situation and come out better or stronger, or not have to go through unnecessary trauma for no reason. Now you fixing stuff that you wouldn't have had to fix had you would have listened to your godly parent. Just listen and do, because it's hard. And why wouldn't you want to listen to somebody that's been through it, being shown it, and, and teaching it? Like, he's not, just like I said, I kept being told and not taught. He is teaching it. This is a real teacher. And he tells you, like, I don't put my kids above other people's kids. I'm here to treat everybody the same as a family. Like, he's giving you the morals and the quality that you should have amongst other people, even people who's not in this church. Like, he's giving you teachings, and then even when you take those teachings in, Like you can independently be able to figure out what to steer away from. Maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't think that would align with what I was being taught at home. Like, I don't know. That that seems like that might mess with my spiritual journey, or that don't sound like that sound like that might trigger me. You start to be able to understand more the way you can make more decisions, better decisions for yourself.
Like, don't know what else needs to be said after that. Oh, but sis, honestly, because it's, when I'm hearing testimonies, I really like going thinking back in terms of, yo, this person really went through this. They
Yeah.
really went through that. And don't get me wrong, my mom was a crazy, woman coming up, not Denzel Washington or anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
she not, it was crazy in love to say, "Well, son, I don't want you to, you ain't gonna be on no fufu and so forth and
Yeah.
stuff like that." And it just makes you, so grateful for the parents had, even though, they didn't raise me up in this way of holiness and whatnot. Had food, all that type of stuff, shelter, love, always, being there the best they can be. And here it is. Here's somebody completely on hours away, literally, dealing with so much. And the fact that you still smile after, all of that, and, still have like, some jokey inside you is crazy. Because stuff like that, it kills people.
Yeah.
Stuff like that mess people up for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, it makes people will say, well, Lord, you let me go through all this, and no, I'm not gonna ever believe in you and all that type of stuff forever,
Yeah.
for a good while.
Yeah.
And
Victimized.
victim, exactly. And here it is, you still come into God's church, but you get a bad experience to start with. So it's like, whoa, but you still stayed,
Hmm.
you still remain. And, I don't know if you've ever heard it before, whatever the case is, although we've never met in real life, and so forth and all that type of stuff. But all that you went through, doing what you can and stuff, I just want to say, me personally, I'm proud of you in terms of you going through all that and still, being able to come into this way of holiness and give an understanding ear to say where you're considering what's being taught, considering what this is, considering, and it goes back to the message Pastor preached in Texas. When you're sincere, God is, he's gonna give you the chance. He gonna give you the opportunity, so be encouraged to stay strong. Um, keep pressing on, keep learning. Of course, y'all have, where you go locally to your temples and whatnot. It's great. Forsake not the assembly, all that stuff, but tune in to the man of God.
Hmm.
This is my advice to all of y'all, especially when you just come in. Really make sure you're tuning in,
Yes.
listening,
Yes. Listen to him
applying.
on the way to church. Like, listen on the way.
You
Yes.
know, it's, no, I'm really happy for you. And there's a lot, in this way of holiness. So, but that concludes, brothers and sisters. I don't know. This may probably be the longest testimony. I don't know yet. I have no idea. I will find out after. But
Long
that's why I
winded.
said some people is just, man, they have some, and there's more coming for y'all. Stay tuned. And I wasn't ready for this hard stuff today, but man, more coming for y'all. Just goes to show a tough gospel will, will get you out of a tough life. You need a tough gospel. You need one. So
You do.
thank you so much, sis, for coming on
Yes.
and sharing your testimony. I'm truly grateful and thankful to God for the brothers and sisters that are able and willing to come on and share their testimonies. Because for those that you know hear these things, if you only understood how much it encourages them, like your testimony, sis, it encouraged me so much in ways. And You have so much strength. You've been through so much and this and that. And to come into a whole like this, that's why I say it's not the picky packers, the I had a good life, all this and that that's coming into the way of holiness only. Brothers and sisters, it's people that live the life of madness, messed up
Yeah.
from the head to toe, all the way up. But my days when that word of God gets you, it's a whole different story. Thank you for listening, brothers and
Yes.
sisters. It's your brother, Sundin Esperance. We had Sister Shawnee's Walls up in here. Did anybody ever see you look like Tiffany Haddish? You ever know when the way you smile? The way you smile, no joke,
No.
no joke, no joke. Y'all know I'm right. Y'all that watch, you know I'm
When
right. It's
when I gained weight, I never heard that, but
you've never
I used to get like Regina Hall or like a somebody else. I don't get Tiffany
Regina Hall.
Haddish.
I have to go see who Gina Hall is again. But Tiffany, it's the way you, it's a smile
It's
that
annihilation.
you do. It's like, I'm like, yo, is she related? Because you told me you did
Oh
like a little
no.
TV time too. So I'm like, yeah, what's going on? Yeah. But anyway, brothers and sisters, God bless.
No.
And peace be
Yes.
unto you all. But yes,
Yes,
yes.
you all.